Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Yes, we are fucking back. Man, this month's going by quick, man. We're about to get on the road here pretty soon to be heading out to Cali. Got a pretty big trip planned. I know that we've talked about it quite a bit in the recent podcasts or even just the podcasts we've done this year, but really looking forward to it, man. And gonna try to bring a complete huge road trip episode based, or a series of episodes based on like our complete trip with me and 6 of my homies that are doing this ride with us. So be on the lookout for that if you guys get a chance. I also want to thank you guys for checking this out again, man. I appreciate you guys still listening to this shit. It's pretty cool, man. Hope you guys have also took the time to check out some of our sponsors like John Jessup at Dream Rides. One guy that I will definitely be seeing on the trip that we go up to NorCal. But if you're in the area, you know, you can always stop into the shop, get in-house dyno tuning, bike sales, service, full builds. He's got everything you need, and he can build you whatever kind of bike you need, which is awesome. But if you're not out there, you can also check out teamdreamrides.com, where he has things like Legend suspension and Saddleman seats and Forbidden risers and a lot of other cool stuff that, you know, I think that our listeners like on their bike. So check them out, and don't forget you can use Fast Life at checkout and save you 10% off that order. I also want to thank Mark from Texas Performance, my dude, my mechanic, the guy that keeps me on the road. He can keep you on the road too. So give him a holler. Texas Performance MC on Instagram, texasperformancemc.com. You can also check him out in Cedar Park, Texas. He does same thing that John Jessup does for the most part, just in Cedar Park. So you can check out Mark with his dyno tuning, performance products and services and all this other, you know, mechanic nerdism stuff. So check him out. It's my good friend, and he'll definitely take care of you. I also want to thank Kevin at Big Bear Performance. You can check out their website at bigbearperformance.com. You can also give them a phone call at 909-478-7788, and you'll be able to get in, like, you'll be able to talk to Kevin personally about your, you know, upgrades you want to do to your bike. You know, I know I've already heard of quite a few of you guys hitting him up, so don't hesitate. You know, he'll help you understand more what the suspension is what you can expect from an Olin suspension. If you got the coin to go full inverted, you know, fuck it, dude, do it. If you don't, there's a lot of other options as far as shocks and things like that can get your bike dialed in real nicely. And I'm actually at the shop right now, just put my bike on the lift, about to install the front suspension, dial in the rear to the specs that he gave me, and trying to get my bike ready for this big trip, which I think this trip that we're going to take to Cali is going to be the one that I can really give you guys a lot of feedback based on my experience with the suspension and the products that I'm putting on the bike. So, you know, stay tuned for all that shit. But in the meantime, hit up Kevin, let him know what you need or what your issue is, and let him give you a solution. So hit him up, 909-478-7788. I also want to thank my dude Paint Huffer, always keeping us set up. Actually, Brian, if you're listening to this, I need some 50-50 flake, so holler at your boy. But yeah, check him out, painthuffer.com, if you want to get some flake yourself. If you want to check out a lot of really badass artists all across the world, go to Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram. They're out there in, I think it's Chandler, Arizona. If you're lucky enough to be in the Arizona area, go check them out. Really, really cool shop. Got a lot of swag, hats, clothes, and of course flakes and pearls and all other stuff for you custom painters out there. Or if you're just a dude that's going to get your bike painted by somebody and your painter don't know what the fuck's going on, you know, you order your shit. Let your painter know what you want on your bike, you know. You don't have to worry about that here, but I know there's some things out there you might have to deal with. So check it out. I also want to thank you guys just for, you know, like I said earlier, tuning in again. Got you a long podcast, this one. We got Moos on here. Chris Moos has been a friend of mine for quite a while. Kind of got his start in the bagger industry and the big wheel stuff, and he built some pretty amazing things like his first go at it. So honestly, man, if you really want to hear his real backstory, Danger Dan did a really, really badass podcast with him about a year ago probably. So go check that out if you haven't, or listen to this and then go hear about more of his backstory. So it's this podcast is more of us just talking shit, just, you know, catching up as friends. So thank you, Moose, and thank you guys. Check this out, and I'll shut the fuck up now.
Hey, guys. You ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
That's some box.
We're live.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Sunday, man. I'm tired.
What do you got to be tired about?
Because I haven't done shit all day, pretty much. It's like
Start off sleepy, stay sleepy.
Yeah, I mean, I left the house earlier, went to the shop, and dude, you know what I did? I went down the rabbit hole last night on YouTube, looking into ceramic coating for paint protection. You know, and I was like, fuck, man, like, I'm a painter. How do I not know about this? Or if it's any good. So I started texting some people, and I was like, is there a place around here I can pick some up? So there wasn't. So I just went and bought some nice car wash stuff, went and washed my bike, and went and saw the family, and then came home. So I ain't done shit today.
That's a real busy day.
You just got back on a nice trip.
Yeah, man. I would have really enjoyed more of it if I could have seen it. I left a little later than I wanted to, and I had to because I wanted to stop by who I was talking to and or who I was visiting and meet with him at his location while he was open so I could do a little bit of media capture and stuff like that because I showed up and they were closed and everything. So it was kind of one of those things where he picked me up at the airport, but business was shut down for the day already. So it was like, hey, how you doing? Let's go eat dinner. Let's get your hotel, all that stuff. And then, hey, see you later. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just go see him in the morning. That, and I was trying to avoid rain because...
Yeah, dude, that storm has just been passing through this, like, the entire week, man. Slowly.
And there was... Everywhere that I was going to be was supposed to be wet all the way back. 100% rain all the time, all the way. And it was really interesting, too, because instead of leaving at 6 in the morning when I planned on, I left at like 8:30. And because I waited that 2 hours... I had this bubble of protection all the way across Tennessee and Arkansas into Oklahoma to where I only really hit rain once the whole way over. The rest of the time it was just kind of misty enough to aggravate you and wish that you had some real precipitation on your windscreen so it would like go away. So like turning my head sideways so it'll kind of like drift to one side or the other.
Yeah, you said you were trying to hit 1,000 miles on that trip, huh?
I thought about it. And then one of the issues I ran into with trying to do that is that I looked at how far it was, and it's only 700 miles from Nashville to Dallas or to Corinth. Man, you really have to go out of your way, and then, like you said, it's got to be some straight roads. Yeah, like just all highway all the time, just haul ass.
Yeah, dude, I learned my lesson on curvy roads the first time I went to Cali. Not on a bike, just driving. When we used to do the import car shit, we would drive from here to LA, and we would pick up like front clips off like Nissan 240s and MR2s and shit like that, and bring them back here and sell the JDM motors. Yep. So we would go there and like load up a U-Haul trailer or a fucking truck with like just motors, and the U-Haul trailer's full of clips sitting on top of each other. And the guy that took me out there was like, hey man, you know, because I've always been a map guy. This is before like
this Mapsco era.
Yeah, dude, this is old school. We had to flip through pages and go to 1A,
and then A corresponds to B, and then B flips over to like page 12A. Yeah.
So he's like, hey man, let's take 10 back, but I don't want to go through the checkpoint, you know, once you pass El Paso before you hit 20.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, what if we just cut up through Las Cruces here, and we'll go over, hit White Sands, and up through the mountains? And I'm like, dude, that added like 5 hours to the trip, and we still hit a checkpoint right there in front of there's a checkpoint right in front of White Sands National Park thing.
Correct.
So so I learned my lesson on that. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like you learn like, fuck man, like its mileage is the same, but because you're not maintaining the speed,
can't get it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it'll last for. That's why they say like doing PCH takes so much longer. You know, if you go straight up to 5, you can be in the Bay Area in like
quick
4 or 5 hours. If you take PCH, it's gonna take like almost 12. Yeah,
all day. Yeah, and I've ridden PCH on the south end. Yeah, a bunch, and it's beautiful, man. But at the same time, there's so many tourist-ass people on that road too, so it's like creeping.
I'm really hoping it's open this time because the last 3 years I've gone, or last 2 years I've gone to Cali, they've had mudslides. So the part between San Luis Obispo and Monterey, which is like a strip where pretty much you can't get on or off. It's just you start there, you end there.
Have to stay on it. Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, it's supposed to be all cleared up. We can ride all the way down it. So I'm looking forward to that because we got campsites in Big Sur, and that's like in the middle. So I'd hate to be coming from north down, have to camp there, and then go back north, which Big Sur is kind of like halfway down, right? And then come back down south. So I'm looking forward to getting to ride that entire thing this year. Hopefully,
that'll be awesome. When do you guys go out there?
we're leaving here the 12th, man, and it's getting close. It's like we're leaving the 12th of June, so I mean we're just about a month away, and everybody that's going with me has never done this. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're like leader of the pack.
Yeah, I mean it's something like I say a lot, man. It's really fun. I like doing this shit all the time. I like doing a solo too, but man, like when you get a chance to like be the tour guide for this stuff and show people things the way, like show people the Golden Gate Bridge for the first time and show people these things and how I learned to come check it out for the first time, it becomes fun. Like it's like the gift that I'm giving somebody or some shit. It's nothing really, but it's just like it's fun to kind of show people the fun stuff that I've already figured out. You know what I mean? So
no, it is exciting, and I understand that excitement. I have that at the shop. Like when I'm teaching somebody how to like cut, weld, grind. Hey, look, I did this. And some people have the right mentality for it. They'll absorb it. And same thing goes with like the tour guide thing.
Yeah.
You're like, hey guys, we're going to go this way. And then you have some jackass in the group who's like, hey man, but I looked at the map yesterday when I was researching our route and we could go this way. And I think we'll be doing awesome if we go this way and save this much time. Besides, there's a scenic overlook right here. And you're like, look, jackass.
Yeah.
This is the way we go. I fucked it up 2 or 3 times. I'm going to show you how to do it right.
Exactly. It's a good time, man. It's I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Also going back to Born Free.
Is that part of the trip?
Yeah, I keep telling everybody, hey, what's your trip out to Born Free? I'm like, well, not to Born Free. Born Free is just a stop on the trip. The trip is the trip. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're gonna actually like the plans to leave here. We're going to Colorado Springs first night. It's like 800. No, it's about 600, 650. Because I want to say Denver's 800 miles from here. So if you go, like that's the way we would go to Sturgis, and it's like to Cheyenne is like 950. And then if you want to get that 1,000 miles on your way to here to Sturgis, you got to go to Laramie. So we've done that before. Back when I was in my bike club days, we used to make every member do iron butt before they could get a patch. They do. Some of the guys didn't have to do it, but the newer members had to do that shit.
Of course.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be fun. Doing a lot of roads I've never ridden before. So pretty excited about that shit. But also, man, like there's a lot of exciting stuff coming on this shit. With like Sturgis is looking like it's gonna be a good year for the performance bagger scene at least.
Dale's got a show going on. Looks awesome.
Yeah.
Kurt always puts his performance show on, which is awesome.
Low Evil or whatever his name is.
Kurt Peterson. That's always good. FXR Dyna shows always good. Yeah. We're always up there all day. Anyway, because we start off with the benefit breakfast in the morning, the FXR Dyna shows that day. The TT races are the same freaking day.
Doesn't Lichter do like his show at the same spot?
Lichter shows at the Buffalo Chip too. Yeah, that's at the back end of the whole event center that they have there. Same building every year. His space. This year is What's the Skinny?
What's that about?
Bunch of skinny bikes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like how he does a different theme for every show. Every year it's like a different theme to build the bike. That's a pretty...
It's curated too, man.
Yeah.
He really handpicks every single person that's in that show.
I think you were talking about that a lot with Dan on the podcast. I think so.
It's an exceptional show, man.
Yeah.
And you can't... It's one of those things, like, I don't care how broke you are. I don't care what you have going on. You could have just had a baby with 10 arms and you're the biggest YouTube sensation on the face of the earth. He asked you to build a bike, dude.
You got to figure it out.
You should figure it out and build that bike. So
I'm in a weird state. So, I was kind of telling you about today. And I finished washing my bike and I'm just sitting there looking at it. And I'm not stoked about it, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not stoked about it in a sense of like what I'm used to doing for myself on my old bikes, right? My white bagger full of airbrush work all the way down it. My gold FXR just had tons and tons of, panels and layers and shit like that. And this one is just not that, but I like it. But I'm not like, I've got this weird like I guess ego I'm trying to feel from my past bikes that this one should be better. But I'm like,
you think it's just understated, or do you think that you didn't give it enough detail?
I don't think I give it enough detail, but there's another part of my mind that's battling it that doesn't give a fuck. I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna fucking put rock chips all over it. I'm not really trying to take it to shows. You know what I mean? I say that, but then it's like, hey, let's go check out the bagger show. But I mean, realistically, let's be honest. Like the bagger show is gonna be a bunch of carbon fiber bikes and black bikes, so should be good on that. But
yeah, well, so is the FXR show.
Pretty much.
As much as I love it, I love those guys. Stock wins.
Yeah, it does.
It does. I just leave my FXR 3 alone that I just got and just go take it stock.
Yeah,
it'll be like, yo, who whose Nickelback CD is this, and who brought the '90s to the show? It'll be the only stock FXR3 to ever show up to that show.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm in a like. I don't even know what the fuck it is. It's just that I don't know how much I really care about it being a very elaborate paint job. Like I'm battling with that in my head. Like, dude, just chill. It's nice. And then the part of me like, dude, I need to go build I need to be a like really badass paint job kind of thing. But
you just didn't feel like you used enough difference in techniques
time
on it and stuff like that. As far as you didn't get to play around with some of the inserts and stuff. I mean, you did some of the whole. What is it? The compound squirt.
Well, that's what I was looking at today.
Stuff,
I really want to take the compound off.
You don't like the compound squirt?
No, because it's the easiest thing in the book to do, other than lace
or water bubbles.
Yeah, that one's pretty. That one actually takes time.
It is a little bit of time to do that. And you got to let it dry and the paint set and all that stuff. And you can't touch it. And you can't move the bike. Can't tip it to pieces. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I was thinking with the time frame I have left, I'll take that off. I was thinking about replacing it with like a very subtle, like the urban camo thing. With the real odd, like just abstract shapes.
You did that as a rendering originally.
I did like a regular camo, but I'm thinking just like the hard pointed edge shapes.
Right.
But just something ghosted, just like that shit is just kind of ghosted in. Do the same thing with the camo, but I don't know, man. I really don't know. Like I don't know if I have enough time. Well, it's gonna take another week to do that. Before I leave to Cali, I just don't know if I'm.
No, you don't have time to do that. For me, I'm pretty particular about it for my own bikes, and it'll always stay that way. I believe in whatever you do in the paint as far as pattern goes, you need to stitch your seat the same.
For real?
Yeah, like my seat. So on the Dynot, that 76 Yamaha paint scheme is factory on that bike.
Yeah.
Just we doubled the lines. Ford over at Infab.
Yeah.
Did the paint work on that while we're still at Misfit. And then we programmed and CNC stitched the seat insert with the same pattern in it.
Yeah.
In mirror form on the seat.
Hicks did that, right? Was that his name? Hicks did the seat. I want to talk to that dude one day. He built some badass stuff, man.
We just got done doing more work for Yellow Wolf last week.
For real?
Mm-hmm. That's a never-ending job.
There's some people that do like those like handmade things like him, and even like I see you make a lot of shit too. Like you did those lights and then those little fire pits you were doing for a while. It's like I got to a point where I was kind of like digging that shit. Like not that I never was. It just sometimes people do shit and you're just like, oh, that's cool, but you don't really like, oh man, that's fucking amazing.
I think it's real important to have stuff that's handmade. My biggest thing, people's like, oh man, you're such an incredible A, B, C, insert your favorite complimentary word that you're naming me, whatever it is. And I'm like, my big comeback is, no, man, I'm just a guy that likes to make stuff.
Yeah.
I just like making stuff, man. I've always, I came into the world as more like a traditional rod and custom guy. But man, I see the dumbest shit. I'm like, that's dope. I've got a certified test tube, vacuum chamber, I should say, in the shop. It's got a 3/4 inch stainless steel plate, and the globe, it looks like a giant cake globe. But it's 36 inches tall and 18 inches in diameter. It's 1/2 inch thick glass. Damn. It's super cool. Why do I have it? I don't know. It just looks neat. Just looks neat. It's sitting on top of my 1930s Dewey Decimal cabinet that I have as a bolt bin. I just like stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm kind of going through a transitional period with like the bikes that I'm doing for myself. You know what I mean? Versus what I would like. I would never pretty much do what I did on my bike for a customer because I don't feel like it's enough. You know what I mean? But like I said, I don't know. I guess the one of my friends used to say like the motor. It's a difference between the motorcycle being like an accessory to your wardrobe and the motorcycle being the vessel for your experiences. So I feel like it's always been kind of like an accessory to me. And over the last couple of years, it's slowly working into being like a legit fucking part of my life, like an appendage or some shit. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. It's an extension of who you are and what you do all the time. And I think today the FXR giving up the carburetor ghost on my ass on purpose was like, I think the Dynot was sabotaging it.
Yeah. It's like
in the shop when I was asleep or something, because I haven't ridden ever since I picked that FXR up. I wanted to go put time on it. I've only put 100 miles on it, but You know,
So you had picked up that other FXR a couple years ago, but
that
it was like a bad
FXRS.
time for just...
No, just timing was bad,
Yeah.
man. I picked up that 82 FXRS for,
It was doo-doo cheap.
man, it was like $1,600 or something like that.
See, I keep telling people that's what I want is the 82 FXR. And then people tag me in like one for $5,000. I'm like, no, dude, the most I'm spending is $3,000.
Yeah.
The most. You know what I mean?
The guy still has the one that in the one that I had. Just needed carburetor rebuild, fuel tank flushed out, and you know, just needed fluids and maybe some rubber replaced, some brake lines, flush the brake system, stuff like
Simple.
that. And he did all that, man. Spent a couple $100 on the whole thing, and he rode that bike for a solid year. I sold it to him for $3,500.
Damn.
I did good.
Yeah.
It was real good. And it was stock as stock gets, man.
Yeah.
And he changed the handlebars up, stuff like that, put new tires on it. But so I think he was like $500-600 into it. He has $4,500 for it when it was for sale. Wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
For
man.
a running FXRS.
Yeah.
That hadn't been like stunted and wheelied and chopped up or anything.
The hardest thing, like what I've seen a lot of FXRs coming in is like, you'll see them like chopped up where, you know, people try to do their thing over the last 30 years or 20 years of its existence. And like, you'll see like some fucking janky ass forward controls put on it, some crazy belt drives that aren't really good, or just crazy wiring things. They get rid of the gauges and then you don't have shit for gauges and chop up the wire harness. It's like finding an old car that someone cut the wire harness to put like a radio back in the 90s before they were making the connectors.
And then you don't know what wire goes to what anymore.
Like the cigarette lighter don't work anymore.
Purple and green, blue and orange. Those are speaker wires. We're good. I've got so Crystal, actually, not myself. Crystal has a 91 FXRP windshield model.
Damn.
That was recently donated to the cause for what she's trying to do to fund a van. She needs a van.
For real?
Yeah, we use my truck a lot. Put 80,000 miles on my truck in 2 years.
Damn.
So she hauls so much stuff in her little Toyota Scion. She's got a Kendon that she tows behind it, sometimes 2 or 3 bikes on that Kendon, plus a little box trailer she has that she tows behind that for like apparel
Scion?
and merch. Yeah, dude, she hauls more shit with her Scion than most people haul in their truck. So she needs a van pretty bad. And we've got a 2001 Road King with tour pack on it, purple, stock as it gets, chrome package, super clean bike. That one and that FXRP both for sale right now.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
they should bring some good money. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, those early 2000s baggers, I think they're going to be a pretty good commodity for a while because they're so cheap to get right now. Especially if you can get like a carbureted one or like a pre fuel injection model.
Yeah, that's going to be, what is that, 98 and earlier, I think?
Because they kind of had some sprinkled in all the way through, all the way up to like 04.
I want to say like 2001 was the...
They put
magnetic Merino. Someone ever was like, Dan Marino doesn't make injection systems. Yeah, he does, and he sells Dr. Scholl's. But Morelli.
Magneti Morelli.
Something like that. Yeah, that was 2001-ish.
That shit was
2000.
Horrible.
If it runs well though, it runs great.
For real.
Oh yeah.
I heard just nothing but horror stories about it.
No, that purple bike we have has it on it, and it runs great.
Oh.
I've known some guys also that have had them, and
it's really easy to like turn those bikes into carburetor bikes anyway.
You could also just take that throttle body off and call Horsepower Inc. and just get a throttle body too.
True.
It's that easy. And then you can just also take the computer out of it and call Thunder Max and get a freaking ECU for it and be done with both. Because they can lie to it and they can say, okay, you're a 2004 with a freaking 40. What I don't even know what stock throttle bodies are anymore because I'm so used to my shit.
Yeah.
I've got 58 millimeter throttle body on that bike out there.
Yeah.
Gas hog. It does good though, man. I've got a 76 Yamaha RD200 gas tank on that bike. I think it's 4-ish gallons.
It's that much? It looks kind of small. Probably like 3
dude, it's almost the size of a Softail tank. When you put it side by side, it's crazy. But I get 180 miles on that tank. Yeah,
that's about right because if you think about it, like Dyna tanks are about 3.5 to 3.8, and if you're just cruising on the highway, you can get about 150 out of them. hops like fucking to the last drop.
But I'm pushing near 140 horsepower too.
Oh shit, yeah.
But I mean, I think it's a testament to the product. So, you know, the throttle body plus the ECU combined, and the way that the motor's actually built. Now it's got 657 redshift cams in it. So whole motor is my bagger, the original bike that I bought, that I tore down, that I was supposed to work on once a week, that never got to work on.
What'd you ever do with that bike?
I still have it. It's
still got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still paying on it. I owe $7,000 on that fucking piece of shit.
Got a frame.
I have a frame. I have everything for that bike to be Cholo'd out, lay frame 23. I don't have a motor.
You can probably get a twin cam pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I have the motor out of it. I pulled it as a 103. I sent it over to Revolution Performance. They did the big bore 117 kit on it. Dark Horse welded crank, 1cc dome pistons, S&S cam chest package, fueling rods, 657 cams, Dragos, their CNC ported stage 3, whatever special name heads they have. And then I've got the Thundermax ECU 58 millimeter throttle body from Horsepower Inc. And I use their air cleaner without an air filter on it, so it looks more like a velocity stack. Yeah. And that, and it's a Sportster pump and a 76 Yamaha tank.
It's a fucking twin cam chopper is what it is.
It is. It goes, man.
Yeah, it's with the bagger out there, mine, it's like I'm I just ordered the zipper cam for it, and then I placing the order for the Thundermax tomorrow. And he was telling me Jake is his name, Thundermax.
Jake Callis, yeah.
He was telling me they have this new like computer screen system they use it for their rear suspension setup.
Correct.
But it's also like gonna work. It does work with the computer stuff as well, so it kind of has a readout, I guess, similar to the
what you can watch, like live time fuel air ratios and stuff.
That I think you can do a lot with it. It's going to be kind of similar to the Power Vision in a sense, but I mean, I really don't know enough about it to
that makes sense for them, considering that you have monitors for other tuners and stuff like that. I mean, the bike market's only 10 years behind the car market. Bully Dog was doing that on diesel tuners like 20 years ago.
Yeah, so he's actually going to send me that setup too. I'm not getting it for free or anything. I'm paying for all this stuff, but it's
worth every penny.
Yeah, it's like I told the guys, like, man, I've ran it before, and it's just kind of simpler for, like most of my bikes, they get tuned by Mark down there, but with our schedules, for me at least, it's just hard to get my bike down there, and he's busy, and get it on a dyno and get it tuned. So for this instance, the Thundermax just seems like the way to go, because I can put the cams in myself, and then he's gonna actually preload the maps that I need for it in the thing and have it set up for my VIN.
Yeah, and what you're doing is some pretty set in stone kind of stuff. You have a package that somebody else has already done that you'll be able to tune.
Well, I've also done it. Correct. 100%,
because it's not like mine where it's just a little bit of everything under the sun. Everything you could spend money on motor-wise has been done. I started with nothing but a $50 harness from Craigslist, and I had no ECU.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, what bike is it? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's make it a 2006 Dyna. Why? I don't know, because I have one sitting right here. So if I need to look at one or the other and figure out what's going on, I'll just use this one for part numbers for my sensors and everything else in case something's wrong, which turned out the harness was not from an 06 Dyna that I got.
Yeah. The like I said, I ran the Thundermax setup on my big wheel, and I did that for like 4 years with that bike, and it was fucking fine. You know what I mean? So never had any issues with it. But it seems like every tuner or every mechanic kind of has their opinion, their go-to like system that works for them, and and that's and like I said, that's cool. I mean, shit.
We took our pipe when we made the Nasty Bastard over at Misfit, and we sent that pipe over to Thundermax so that they could tune the pipe specifically with and without air cleaners, those kind of combinations, so that when you went through, because when you go to tune that thing, there's a selector list. What do you have? Cams, you have this exhaust, you have all these things that you have to plug into it so that you can break it down and say, okay, this is the package. What heads do you have? Yeah. What bore is it? What motor? I mean, they got a bunch of different selections. So when you go plug all that in, those variables are, okay, this formula adds up to what we need for your entire tune. And so it's really simple for them to go in there, like all the Borzilla stuff's in there, all of Rusty's pipes are in there. There's a bunch of other stuff in there too, but I mean, they have, like the 120R is in there, the freaking stock 103 is in there, all kinds of fun stuff with or without compression releases. You go and select all these things, and the Magic Chili is just like dropping Legos on top of it until you make the house, and it works really good. So with that, there's some infinite tuning that you can do to look at some of the readback information. Go run your bike, ride it for a little bit. You can actually download the map from the most recent history. And I use Ramsey's Speed and Custom. It's out of Arizona. I send it to him for like a couple $100. He'll stay on it for you for a bit. Look at your tune, make some adjustments, send it back out to you. You put it on your computer. It's a zip file. No, it's an Excel document that you put in. The update is now all Excel based, and then you use that information to upload that into. It's just a file, open as, and then you go write maps and settings, and it writes it into your ECU that easy, and then you just go run your bike.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The last tune that I did, so my bike originally, I just talking to you a little while ago, when we were assembling that bike, we were doing it so fast that we actually had, somebody had dropped my fuel pump plate.
Yeah.
And it cracked the nipple on the top of that Sportster pump, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, my fuel injection, one of my wires on one of my injectors broke inside the insulation. It was just coming apart. And so I had intermittent firing issues, and I thought it was my coil packs when I rode that thing to Sturgis last year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, so I went and bought new coil packs, and I swapped coil packs out in Sturgis, and that wasn't it. And I checked my spark plugs, and I'm calling Ramsey to get new freaking tune done. And he's like, I'm sure wanting to kill me at this point, because he's like, dude, this is a lot. But yeah, I'll take care of you. And as best as we could tune it with a bad fuel pump and faulty injection wire, he was trying to tune around it. We just could never get it. And so once I went to Hot Bike Tour and I found what was wrong with all these things and fixed them, it rode better, it ran better, but it was never really tuned for what was going on now that it was fixed. So I hit him up, man, last week before last, and I was like, hey, I don't mean to be a pest, but we never really got to tune my bike because I had mechanical issues. It was not your fault. You let me know what I got to do to satisfy you, but could you take a look at it? And man, he uploaded me a new tune, and I put it in the bike, and I'm not kidding, man. First 2 minutes on the bike, it was like a brand new bike. I'd never freaking experienced it. So when I'll be doing 80 to, I would say more like 80, 90 miles an hour in fifth gear, and I can throttle pretty hard and it'll snap, and you can see me going 80, 90 miles an hour, and I can pop the throttle and you can see my bike accelerate like real like quick little jumps, like that I'm ready to whoop your ass. And I'm in fifth, and it's still in the middle of the RPM range.
That's good.
Well, it would ping a little bit when I would do that before. Now, dude, it's like I better hold on with both hands or lean forward a little bit when I do it, because it really throws my ass around. That's the only bike I've ever ridden, and I know there's tons of bike out there with a ton of horsepower. Yeah. Mine's not 1,000,000 horsepower. It's just great for me. Yeah. I don't feel like it knows that I'm on the bike at all. That I do not sense, never 1 second, while throttling that bike, like it goes, there's a 6'7", 250-pound asshole on this bike. Every other bike I've ever been on has been that way. Yeah. It's like I feel it lag because my ass is in it. Yeah. That bike is like...
That's probably what you were saying about the FXR. Do you feel like it doesn't have as much pep as you need?
Well, yeah, it's an 88 cubic inch motor. It was like, come on, fat ass, go on a diet or something. And
is it an 80 or 80? Oh, it's an 88 on
this. 88.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
Yeah, I need to go clean the carburetor.
Dude, just buy a Mikuni or get another one. They're so cheap, dude.
It is. I think there's a Mikuni on that one. I'll have to double check. I literally haven't done anything to that bike other than
you just got it like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Well, the reason I was, I was really, with all the new Harley shit going on with them, flagging warranties and stuff because of the ECMs being flash tuned and whatnot, I just, the first thing that came to mind for how are people going to be able to, enjoy their motorcycle, because now these bikes are coming with speed limiters on them, right? So they're cutting it like 110.
Governors.
Yeah, governors. Yep. So, and to my knowledge, the Screaming Eagle tuners don't take that off.
They don't do anything at all. And I don't know if you recall, but there was a lawsuit that went through where Harley had to actually pay because of all the tuning they were doing, because they technically were in violation, I guess, of their carbon credits at that point for what it was.
Yeah, so they got hit real hard, and that's why like all this shit is so. That's why we're getting M8s that are detuned, the emission stuff,
which is great, because you know what that means?
Yeah,
it just means they do make an ass load of power.
Yeah, they do. I mean dude, a cam on these fucking M8s, and they just they're over 100 horsepower. You know, somebody
was saying the other day, it was like, yeah, they came out with this new revolutionary motor. It's called the M8 Evo.
Yeah, they just had that. They just added some more valves to it just to kind of make it feel updated.
Right.
But the fucking thing's a torque monster. So when I had mine down, my buddy Mark threw it on the dyno. This is just with a pipe and air cleaner, right? And this is embarrassing. So get ready. The bike, the 114 comes with 84 horsepower from the factory, right?
That's a sad horsepower number for many cubic inches.
It is, but it's over 100 something. It comes factory with like 100 plus
foot-pounds torque.
Yeah. So it was like this dyno at like 113 torque and 86 horsepower. So I gained 2 horsepower by air cleaner and exhaust.
Something not efficient with that package, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, that TBR exhaust is like super popular amongst the bagger community because it's like a cheap pipe. You can get it for like $700, and it clears. It's not super long, and which is why it's not making any power. But yeah, it doesn't make any fucking power. It's like, it's a weird thing because like the look that people are wanting with the pipes is the shorter pipe, but that completely conflicts with the concept of making power on it, right? Because you want like like Rusty's pipe or a Bassani that is going to come out probably like under the bag.
Yep.
And I hate fucking pipes that dump under the bag because it just puts the fucking exhaust shit all over my shit.
Yes.
And heats my bag up. Like, it's a good place to cook eggs when you're going riding. You know what I mean?
Just throw a couple of potatoes in foil and leave them in your saddlebag.
Come and get a baked potato when you get there. But, so like I like the pipe, the little side exit pipe, but there's just not a lot of people making power with these short pipes.
I'm not sure how much horsepower I'm suffering or gaining by having the pipe that I have on my bike.
Yeah, it's tough to say, man, because, I mean...
I love the style of my pipe. I'm going to put one on the freaking FXR, dude.
And that's me, too. Like, I'm...
awesome.
At what point... To me, it's like, what point am I willing to, if I'm going to lose 5 horsepower and the pipe looks so much better, then I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, that 5 horsepower is not making or breaking me. I'd rather have my bike look just fucking sick. You know what I mean?
It's like having a fat girlfriend with great personality.
Yeah, I guess.
She likes to dress sexy.
Or having a hot girlfriend with a shitty personality.
Yeah, I've had one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've all had that.
That was my ex-fiance.
But yeah, so
she was crazy, and she was a hairstylist.
Dude, they're all crazy. It's part of their nature. I got one of those.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, like I said, man, it's just one of those things. It's like finding that balance between aesthetics and performance is definitely a hard thing. And I think that when these companies start like just understanding that, because you can't, like, all these performance companies can't stand behind like, oh, our shit just performs. Like, no, it has to look good too. To the generation now, not everybody across the board, And that's what I see with a lot of companies that I talk to. Is just like, man, your products are fucking phenomenal, but it's not appealing to the market, The
Nasty Bastard pipe that we offered, when you took the Nasty Bastard with a Thundermax and an air cleaner, it was 17 horsepower gain.
Damn. That's
but
good.
The benefit there,
but I also heard
the benefit there is too, is that we sent it to them to optimize it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not that they changed our pipe design. It's that they were able to find specifically what was needed with that pipe in order to make the right power. Now, that being said, is 17 horsepower worth $4,000?
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a $1,300 pipe, a $1,200 ECU, and sometimes a $400 or $500 air cleaner, depending on what you buy.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how much that adds up to, but I mean, yeah, let's just call it.
Let's call it
$5,000. No, it's $3,500 or so. Yeah. But I mean, even Rusty's got a package where I guess it's exhaust, air cleaner, and a tuner plus a tune, and it's like, is it in a cam?
Well, he does the zippers cam.
Does he do that all at once? That's like the $5,000 package he's doing at show. Is he doing that at?
I know he's been doing it at the shows and everything, but I don't know if it's a $5,000.
He's got like a 4 or 5. It
would make sense to be $4,000.
It's a couple thousand.
But I mean, dude,
it's not let's buy a pipe and a tuner thousands, but it's more than that.
Yeah, but I mean,
and he's there. He's dyno tuning it at the show. He's doing a great job, man. The dude works his ass off at the show.
Like I said, he's got a package down.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of the deal. But
his package is in freaking Hawaii right now. I noticed. Dude, that's nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
Amazing riding up there, I bet.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Like I was saying, about that ECM, I just thought it was it would be good to kind of like run it and maybe, because like I said, I think a lot of the Dyna FXR, maybe, I mean, it doesn't apply to the FXR, but the Dyna market, that are kind of stepping into the bagger game right now, because the Road Glide and the Road Kings and all this shit going on is like, seems to be the level up for the Dyna kids right now. You know what I mean? And so like I've seen all these guys that are selling their bikes selling their Dynas, and they're jumping on baggers. And those same brands that they were used to in the Dyna world are a little bit different in the bagger world. They're actually a little bit more researched, and there's better quality stuff out there, in my opinion, in some aspects. So I think the Thundermax is going to be just a good way to go because of that. Like they were saying, like, look, just keep your stock computer in the saddlebag. If you have to pull in the dealership, just, it's going to take some work, but I mean, this is the thing that people are going to have to do.
Yeah, but it's on top of the battery, man. It's not hard.
You just got to fucking pull out those damn wideband O2s and shit. So, but I mean, at the same time, like I said, all you're trying to do is just, if they plug in the shit, it's not going to trip the codes. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but how was the hot bike tour? Like that looked like it was fun.
I worked on my bike the whole time.
That's always fun, right?
Yep, that's what I did. So the very first day of the hot bike tour, everybody gets together. We have a builders meeting. Mm-hmm. We all show up at. We went to Roadrunners Bar, which was like north of Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And earlier in the day, my girlfriend was like, "Why don't you just trailer your bike up here? Just it's gonna rain or something." And I was like, "No, this is the hot bike tour. We all ride our bikes.
Yeah,
it's what we do. I've been like 5 years." Mm-hmm. And built bikes for 3 or 4 years of that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "No, we ride." She goes, "Okay, yeah, fine." So I had rain gear. I'd bought it.
Yeah.
Just in case it rained while we were on tour and stuff. Because I was like, never really owned rain gear. I just ride in the rain. I was like, but it might be kind of nice to stay dry.
It's not too bad.
I'll wear it. Yeah. So I got some. She got some. And rode to the event, and I'm like, "Oh, it's sunny over here." Yeah, by the time we get to the other side of the mountains, it was pouring down rain, dude, like 15-foot visibility. Damn. And I'm riding the freaking the Dynot.
Yeah.
Because the Vidina's gone now.
Yeah.
The Dynot down the highway doing like, I don't know, 40 miles an hour, dude, because it was raining so hard that I really could not see but like 15 foot in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I pull up to the bar, and the whole parking lot's full of trailers. Everybody trailered their shit up there, and it's everybody's bike is completely dry. There's no water on anybody's bike, and I'm like, everybody got here early too.
Yeah,
I just showed up on time because I was, which is amazing. I showed up on time. She's the only person that ever keeps me on time. Otherwise, I'm just always late. But man, I pulled up, and they had like plywood laid down so you could kind of go over this muddy rut area to the front door and put your bikes inside the bar. And I'm pulling up, and I know we're going to park the bikes inside. Mm-hmm. And the guys at the door are like, no, wait, builders only. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. And so I'm like, and I freaking bump into the door to open it, because they're kind of like, the rain's coming in so far that it's like coming in the door like 5 or 6 feet. So I go ahead and I pull in, and it kind of like one of those like scary saloon movies where everybody turns and it gets quiet. Yeah. It was like, who's this asshole covered in water? Dude, I had so much water on me and in me and on my jacket. I didn't think twice about it. I parked my bike, I took it off, and I set it down on a chair, and the chair just fell over because it was so heavy. Yeah. And then we're doing this builder meeting, and I've been standing vertical, not bending the toes of my shoes the whole time, and didn't realize that my shoes were full of water. Yeah. And so I'm sitting in the builders meeting, and I have my toes kind of bent under the chair underneath me. And a couple minutes later, I look, and there's like this 5 or 6 foot long string of water all the way across the room. And everybody's looking at me like I pissed in my pants and it ran down my leg. And I'm like looking at my shoes, and I'm like, so, I mean, it was entertaining to start off. So I rode that. And then the next morning, her and I left, and we went over to meet everybody at Buddy Stubbs to kick it off. Mm-hmm. Bike started, was still hitting intermittent. took off, went over to get gas right down the street from Buddy Stubbs, pull out of the parking lot, and as soon as I get to the first stoplight, my bike dies before I get there, and I'm like, okay, bing, 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 first, second, clutch, boom, start it back up, just coasting, and my bike won't stay running. All I could do is keep the throttle open enough to freaking keep fuel moving through it. And she's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, the bike won't stay running. And so 2 or 3 lights to get there was kind of a pain in the ass. Got there, parked it, and then I was like, I gotta look at my bike. So I get a hold of Danny, and he's like, yeah, what do you need? And the bike starts right up. Like, there's no problem with it. And then everybody's having a builder's meeting, and they have a really long stretch behind their shop. Yeah. Like you could drag race.
Yeah, I checked it out. It's pretty cool.
So I'm literally like, zoom, 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 back and forth on my bike, just like trying to figure out why will my bike not stay running. And then it does it again, and stops. So Crystal didn't ride with the guys that day. She did one little ride with them, I think, for a few minutes, and she hung out and was such a trooper, man. Freaking bringing me food and asking if I was okay.
What was that first stop that day?
Started at Buddy Stubbs, and we went to, I don't know where. I can't remember. I was too focused on fixing my bike.
Did they actually make it all the way up to like the Four Corners area like they were planning, or did they just stay like in the Phoenix area?
No, dude. We went, we went all the way through Winslow and all the way over to Casino Town and rode 60 all the way back. Okay. Yeah. So 660, it's from Honda. So if you take 60 from Honda all the way back to Phoenix.
Yeah. Isn't it through like the mountains right there?
Bitchin' road, dude. It's all mountain, and it's super sketchy. Like if you don't know how to turn, you're going to die.
How'd you think about that Talamina when you rode down that the other day?
In the dark, in the rain?
Oh, that's got to be sketchy.
Yeah. So it was okay. I was in Mina. I'd have to go look at my phone, but I think I was in Mina at about 7:30, I think. And so I left Mina at 7:30. For those of you that don't know, it's Mina, Arkansas. And I went from Mina to Hina. And like I said, it was just as the sun's going down, so I could just still see half mile or better ahead of me all the time. But by the time I got to the end of it, it's pitch black.
Yeah, it's dark as fuck out there, too.
And it's sketchy, dude. There's not road reflectors everywhere. Like here in Texas, there's road reflectors on both sides and all the culverts everywhere. Yeah. Every driveway's got reflectors on it and stuff like that. So you can see where the edges of the roads are. But there's not. Yeah, and there's no road reflectors up there because they get snow and they plow the roads. Yeah. And because they plow the roads, there's no road reflectors, unlike Texas, where
we hardly get it.
We don't get snow and they don't plow. So we have road reflectors everywhere, and you can see where the lines are. Well, and they don't use reflective paint up there either because that's like too much for freaking a bunch of people with methamphetamine and freaking like no teeth. But I kept a pretty steady pace at about 90, 95 the whole way. Yeah. I was trying to keep it under 100 intently. And I learned really quick that their 55 mile an hour turns are 75 mile an hour turns all day.
They're 20 miles or 20 miles, though.
They are. Their 40 mile an hour turns are definitely 60 to 65 mile an hour. Some of them are 70. Yeah. And where that long stretch where it's 65 miles an hour, you could just stay on it at 95 the whole way.
There's some parts of that road that's like super sick. Like when you're on your way to Mina, there's a part like just maybe a couple miles outside of Mina on the parkway where you can look straight. And it's a zigzag, like the road's just S-curving back, but it's crossing a center line, basically. Like you can beeline straight, but it's just crossing. You could just see the downgrade of the hills. It's so sick looking.
And you can literally barely turn and cut through it. The faster you go, the less you turn. Yeah. No, it's a really good ride. I was telling Adam. So I went from Mina to Hina to over to Atoka.
Okay.
So I stayed on 8.
Yeah, so you just stayed and went by the lake and all that shit.
Yeah, and I went by the lake and I took 8 all the way over to freaking 69. And that pops out at Stringtown, like right at the Stringtown sign on 69, which is technically 75 north out of McKinney. and the sign says "Welcome to Stringtown," and like if you took a right there, and you took that all the way to Tallahena,
Yeah.
I wanted to see that during the daytime because I didn't have much moonlight.
Because of the clouds.
Because it was cloudy the whole way. But man, it was, I remember seeing this red light flickering in front of me for like probably 45 minutes. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, there's a stop sign up there, or stoplight.
Yeah.
No, dude, it was a radio tower in the middle of a mountainous valley. And it was really far away because I got closer and there were more of them.
You know, the crazy thing about that whole southwest or southeast corridor of Oklahoma is that a lot of riders here just don't think about it. They don't think to go up there. They don't think that that's a day's ride and back. Dude. You know,
it's a long day's ride.
It's a long day's ride, but I mean,
it's 2.5 hours to get there.
From downtown Dallas right here straight to Adams Campground is 160 miles. That's exactly what it is from here to basically Austin.
Yeah.
Basically 180 miles to Austin. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to think you can get there in a couple hours. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you want to do it as a day ride, get up early.
Yeah,
like leave at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Get out before traffic. Get up there. You're ready to freaking pound it at like 9 o'clock in the morning if you're lazy. That's a 4-hour ride to do a 2.5 hour ride. Like you could totally screw around.
Yeah.
And then get up there, have a light breakfast somewhere, plan the route, or just talk about it with some people, and then go hit the road before there's really anybody riding around. There's nobody riding around up there.
Yeah.
There's hardly anybody driving around up there.
I think what people should do is just like do that thing, do it a Saturday morning, wake up, do that, and then just grab a hotel or a campsite up there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool campsites.
Yeah.
There's lots of little fucking Airbnbs and hotels. Just you and a couple buddies, maybe you and a couple buddies and the wives or whatever, just go out there, do the ride out there, catch a hotel. And
there's a hotel right in the middle of the Tallahena Parkway.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's that one that it burnt down a long time ago, but I don't know.
I mean, I just know that
it's kind of on the.
Somebody was telling me that they did that ride recently.
Yeah,
and they stayed in the middle of it.
Yeah. I saw the place this last time, but I don't know.
But yeah, I mean that'd really be good because you think about it. You get up there and you got half the ride up, and you stop, unpack all your stuff, hang out for a little bit, go burn like another freaking 4 hours or so, come back, drop your shit off. You
could leave, ride the Tallahena Parkway, go hit Mina, and then go ride all the way through. What is it? Like Hot Springs and shit, and go to Fayetteville, party your ass off in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
That's 350 miles from home, and then just make it home the next day.
I almost went to Fayetteville. I didn't quite. I was thinking about going from, because I went from Nashville to Memphis. From Memphis, I shot over to Hot Springs. Mm-hmm. Hot Springs to Mina. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking on my original route, I was going to go from Hot Springs up to Fayetteville, and then from Fayetteville to Mina to try to add miles. Mm-hmm. And then I just looked at how many miles it added, and I'm like, dude, it's pennies.
It's not worth it.
It's pennies. It's not enough,
60, 70 miles probably.
It's nothing, dude. I think it was like 75 miles. My daughter and I were going over the route, and she's like, yeah, I just don't see how you're going to make that.
What bothers me is when people, it bothers me, but realistically, it doesn't fucking matter what I think, but I think that, I've seen people do the iron butt stuff where they just like would literally go right around town. Like they'll go, hey, we're going to go from here. We're just going to go to Galveston and then we're going to go like one big ridiculously long loop that they don't really go anywhere far. Mm-hmm. I've seen them even do it around town before. No,
dude, I think you have to go from somewhere to somewhere that's meaningful to matter. And I would have loved for Nashville to here to be more miles and straight highway.
Yeah.
Because if it was 800 miles straight highway, I would have found one major detour.
Yeah,
and done 1,000 miles. Yeah.
But it is hard. Like going west or being west coming back east, it's super easy because everything's so spread out and all the roads are pretty long and straight.
10 the whole way.
Yeah. It's like I did. I was tripping because when I left Venice a couple months ago and I was headed back to Texas, I made it from Venice to Van Horn, which is like right in between El Paso and the 20 split on 10, and 20 miles is all I needed to hit 1,000. That's all I fucking needed. So I stopped at 980, and there wasn't going to be another hotel for another 60 miles, and it had already dropped into the 20s at that point. So I was like, fuck, I gotta stop. And dude, that was when I rode from there home in like 24 degrees. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Never doing that again.
No, that cold ride like that, I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I mean, shit, it wasn't planned at all because the weather looked like it was going to be, lows of the 40s and highs in the 60s the whole time I was gone. But that shit it didn't happen. So
I got real fortunate, man. It showed to rain the whole time. Mm-hmm. My dad dropped me off at the airport. I flew out. Landed in Nashville, got picked up by Cameron, went to the dealership, picked up the bike, went to the hotel, looking at the radar the whole time, and I'm like, it's just gonna freaking pour on me nonstop.
Yeah.
And my dad even met my sister right after he dropped me off, and he's like, I'm thinking about driving halfway up there and picking him up.
Wow.
And I'm like, it looked like it was gonna be that bad a storm.
Dude, I thought about getting rid of a U-Haul when I was halfway down.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, man, it's going to be so bad. And honestly, if I had a customer's bike that I had to get back home, mm-hmm. I had to be at work Wednesday, right? And this was Monday. So I was like, if I stay another night here in LA, I'm still riding home in shitty weather, mm-hmm. right? So I might as well just get it done because I have to be at work on Wednesday because I have a customer that was coming to pick up a bike we were finishing up at the following weekend. So I had to finish it up and get it ready for him. He picked it up for Arizona Bike Week. And dude, it was a fucking nightmare, man. And then it sucked because the guy that came to get it, he's up there in the Nebraska area.
Furniture Mart?
No, sorry. Bill Usher, Spaz Cycles, all those guys up there.
Yeah,
and
yes, I do.
It's in that area.
This morning I was wearing a Spaz Cycle shirt.
He is they have some World of Wheels show or some shit up there.
Yeah. World of Wheels shows.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's what they were getting ready that bike man. For. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That's their big winter show.
Yeah, so that was what it was for. And other than, man, I wish I would have just stayed. I wish I would have just told him like, hey man, just give me 3 more days or some shit. But then again, it would have fucked up his plan, so I had to make it work. And the reason it was, man, because I was trying to do podcasts out there, and the weather in LA was shit. So everywhere in the LA valley part of it, you know what I mean? Within the mountains and fucking Long Beach and all that, it was just raining and just nothing but clouds. But then you get out to Riverside and shit, it's fucking perfect.
Beautiful.
And it's like, man, I couldn't really plan it. I was trying to do podcasts. I didn't get shit. I just went to LA for nothing. I mean, I did Big Bears, but that was it. Supposed to meet up with Adam and do that ride with him on Angels Crest Highway. Didn't even get to meet up with him, do any of that stuff. So
right.
It was just more like bragging rights, I guess, to go out there.
No, and I really relish big rides, man. I don't get to do them very often. And, having had worked for a bigger company and stuck in the shop all the time, you don't get to ride at all.
Yeah,
it was still, how many miles you got this year? Man, I got 2,000 miles on my bike riding to work.
What I was going to say, though, it's pretty cool, though, that you came into it from a building aspect and you found a passion for motorcycles. That's part's what I think is commendable. You know what I mean?
Man, I just feel like motorcycles, it's such a corny thing to say, motorcycles saved my life. It's, no, it's like, I've always been balls deep in everything I do, man.
Yeah.
I'm all or nothing, and I get really thirsty for it all. And people find it hard to believe that I've only been involved in motorcycling since 2013. Mm-hmm. And they're like, but dude, you've built that and this, and that was the first bike you rode, and what? And I'm like, yeah. Like Jesse, him and I became friends. We were acquaintances before Rook. Mm-hmm. We became friends because we had known each other and seen each other at SEMA for years, man.
Yeah.
And it's just because we were always hanging out with the same crowds. We were always doing all this stuff. And I always knew who he was from back in the day because of the original Biker Build Off series. And, man, he always knew who I was. Mm-hmm. We always what'd up. We always partied together. That kind of thing. It was like mutual acquaintances.
Yeah.
And then the year that I was at SEMA and I built the bike in the Ingersoll Ram booth, mm-hmm. he walked by and he goes, what are you doing? I was like, I'm building a bike in 3 days on the floor at SEMA, start to finish. Everything was painted.
Yeah.
But literally, we built it on the floor in pieces. Okay, here's the frame. Cool. What are we doing? We're putting the motor in. Well, we need motor mounts. Put them on the ground next to the bike. And this, and these bolts, and these tools do it. And we just made a pile, and we palletized it, and we took it out there, and I put it together in 3 days.
That's cool.
He was like, that's real cool, man. He's like, I didn't know you did anything with motorcycles. I was like, yeah, I mean, actually, I've done quite a bit recently. And
up to that point, you had done quite a bit.
At that point, I mean, we had Element 13 sitting in the booth that we built on Discovery Channel.
It was so weird, man. That bike, and I know FXR Mike has brought it up before. It's like, it's crazy that thing just didn't.
No
I don't know if
respect.
it didn't. I hate to say it that way.
got
but
no play.
It didn't get no play, and it's
No
like,
play.
God damn, like that was more chopper than a lot of choppers. You know what I mean?
That's the most significant project that I had the most contribution to, not only design, but
Yeah.
I had 100% of the fabrication and all the machine parts. I mean, dude, that bike has got so much crap made
Yeah.
on it, and we built that bike in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I remember watching the
3 weeks, dude.
that build off series on that last one they did on the biker build off thing, and it was pretty good. Grab me one too. The you know, it's crazy because that same show was one that we all did too. We did the pilots for, and it was a fucking it's a shit show. I think I've talked about it before on here, but when we were doing the you can find a bottle over. When we were doing all those pilots for it, you know, they were like doing the interviews. They were trying to the people on the screen, or whatever the fuck they are, the Discovery Channel people that were filming the pilots to figure out which builders and people to use. They found out that me and the other side customs had somewhat of a beef.
They wanted all the drama,
And they were trying to like get me to. So how do you feel when you see a paint job from this guy? And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's pretty good, man. You know, I was like just being honest. You know, like I don't hate the dude or anything.
Right.
And they're like, no, well, just tell him to say it sucks and then give him the finger. I'm like,
no,
it's not my thing, man. I'm not all bikers give people a finger.
right?
You know, but
They did the same thing to us. So I'm still really good friends with the guy that was the executive producer of our show, Dan. Last time I went to Seattle 2 Christmases ago with my daughter, I spent time with him, hung out with his kid, and
Yeah.
in town and stuff like that. He's in Seattle. My oldest daughter lives in Seattle.
yeah,
Super neat dude. So he kind of let it. It was his last show. It was his last show with that production company because he was like, I don't like what they're doing.
yeah.
All the Biker Live build-off series was about the hero story.
It was.
On purpose, and he let us know that. He also said that we had to be careful about how we answered certain questions because he was, as a director, being required to ask us certain things certain ways so that they create a storyline. They tried to fail us on that show. It was intent that they wanted to fail the episode, as in we didn't get to finish our bike. And he says, whatever you say that sounds like you're not done, they're going to use and quit filming before you're done, and you're not going to complete your bike on camera.
That sucks, man.
He said, keep that in mind. And so there's some of the things that they can't have with television without rights. So like they can't use certain music. You can't say certain words, you know, those kind of things. And so when they would ask a question like, so let's assume for a minute that you didn't finish. What would be your reaction if you didn't get this bike done? What would that sound like?
They were trying to get.
It was like, man, I really can't wait to finish this bike. I think it's going to be amazing. These guys are putting in a ton of effort and time, and you know, I'm just really looking forward to you know, riding this thing down the road. And they're like, well, but I mean, we asked you, and I wouldn't answer it. And I told everybody that, and so everybody that was ever asked questions like that with a negative connotation, storyline wise, we never answered them that way. And we had that big snowstorm when we had the Super Bowl in Houston.
Yeah.
Right. And it was that year. And so they still had to go to Houston where the other 2 shops were to finish filming their episode because they hadn't finished their filming yet. Well, I walked around for a whole day too, unplugging everybody's microphones while we were filming and talking. And so the audio guy wasn't getting all his audio that he needed. And then I was playing unlicensed music in the background nonstop during critical moments of filming on purpose so that they couldn't use the footage.
Yeah.
Just because they told us that we were going to have 6 weeks to build this bike. We're literally 2 weeks in. And they're like, okay, we're done. Wait, can we get the other 4 weeks we're supposed to have to finish this bike?
Yeah.
Like out of the entire build series, there were some really amazing bikes that came out of that build series, man.
Yeah, TBJ did one up there. Yeah.
But I started with castings
yeah.
from a bagger.
Yeah.
And I built the whole frame, radius backbone, built the whole freaking body from scratch aluminum. built the saddlebags, drew up all the hand controls, all the foot controls, the exhaust tips, the air inlets. It's a 132 X-Wedge twin plenum motor. So there were only 3 of those ever at that time that were made. We were fortunate enough to have one.
Wasn't it like a 180 horsepower motor?
It's supposed to be 200 horsepower motor.
Yeah.
And it's the same motor that's in the Confederate bikes, but it's the intake, when you look at the casting on it, you can tell that the mold was 3D printed because it still has all the striations in it from the 3D printing. And then there was no fuel map for that thing ever to begin with because nobody had ever run one. We're the only one to ever pull one out of a box at that point. Nick Trask had another one that he ended up doing. Yeah. Which turned out awesome. There's one still in a box somewhere. The bag lids are machined to look like out of solid billet aluminum. They're like 11 pounds a piece. Yeah. Which is retarded. But that's because between the 2 lids, there were 48 hours of machining in both the bag lids alone. So they look like Corvette valve covers from the 60s. And that's the way I drew them. Yeah. But they're like over a half-inch thick because we looked at the program time on how long it was going to take to machine them. The guy that I called to machine those, a really close friend of mine, Gary, out of Poway, I had the introductory phone call with him. We drew them up together between him and I because I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to do, and he looked at it and go, look, dude, this is a machine restriction. Yes, I can make this. It's more difficult. It'll take more time. What if we do this? And so he put me in check. And then he said, we could do this. Yeah, cool. How about we change A, B, C? Yeah, perfect. We're done. Cool. I'm going to make them. So he machines them, and I says, look, I have to have these done before Friday because I'm going on vacation. I promised my chick that I'd go on vacation. I hadn't been in like 3 years. Yeah. I was like, so are you going to get them done? He's like, dude, I'm going to put an air mattress in the shop. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to get them done. Nice. So in less than 1 week, I made the introductory phone call. We machined the freaking lids, and he made the tooling and everything and mailed them to me, and I had them in a week in like 2 days. Damn. And service right there. $10,000 bag lids. Yeah, and
true bagger fashion.
And there's freaking like Art Deco badges that go on the side of them that I drew up that are multi-piece brass and aluminum that all bolt in on layers that go on top of them.
Have you ever thought about building something like that again, but on your time? You know, for something bikes like that need. Yeah. I feel like there's a place for that type of craftsmanship.
Always.
You know, and it sucks that maybe a Lichter show is really the only place that you can really shine that.
That bike was in one of Lichter shows.
It was?
Yeah, it was. It was in the naked, the tattoo show.
Well, you know, Bob K puts on the stuff that they do, right?
Right.
And I think that maybe it just sucks that you'd have to win all the shows here.
Bob just invited me to AMD World Championships with my bike that I not.
That's cool.
So I'm taking the rear fender off of it because it has some paint damage on it from the left side fender mount breaking on the way to Sturgis last year. And that was because the bike had fallen over once and it freaking bent it and it stressed the bolt holes and I'd never noticed. And so I was riding in the rain for like an hour with a broken fender mount. It was just bobbing, hanging on one side on the brake caliper side. Because, you know, it's mounted to the brake caliper on the right side. So I broke the mount a little bit, one of the welds, but it held on really well. So I've got to have Ford repaint the fender. And then we're going to re-clear the whole bike, and I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to take the exhaust off and detail everything around it, behind it, and underneath it. And I've only washed that bike twice.
And well, that rainstorm probably took care of a lot of it.
Doesn't help at all. And hell, I rode it to Dan's to do his podcast right after it rained, and the whole front of the motor was caked in mud and stuff. I just left it that way.
When you go to Dan's house, you're going off-roading for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a mud trip.
Well, yeah. What I was saying is that it just feels like
he puts on Bob K puts on the Custom Culture Show.
Yeah, at the IMS shows and a couple other venues.
Rock Rally and stuff.
But there really would be something cool to have that. But you know, like all the clicky stuff that takes place in the act, like all the your Easy Rider shows and all that shit. It kind of like, I guess that's where I was getting at earlier with our conversation, is like the show aspect of things kind of makes me not want to even be a part of that. But I do really appreciate like the craftsmanship that some people put into their stuff.
I'm really big into craftsmanship, man. I've got a project that I won't go into too many details about, but it has a lot to do with speaking to what craftsmanship is and the variations of communities that exist within craftsmanship. And so I know this guy that's really awesome at steam bending wood. He builds some exceptional furniture, some of the nicest stuff you'll ever see. He actually has an article not Forbes, one of the really prestigious New York
Mechanics.
Nope, one of the most prestigious New York magazines. I can't remember what it is right now.
Hustler.
Yeah, totally. But Matthias builds some amazing wood structure furniture, like blow your mind kind of stuff. And he has a studio that is a full wood shop that you could eat off the floor in.
Nice.
Like, that's hard. Dude.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, that's really hard when you're dealing with wood. But I have a project where I want to work with different groups. I obviously, Nick is a character, and so I would talk to Nick at Knives Made by Nick, because Nick is an amazing guy, and he's a musician, he's a knife maker, he's a family man, he's just like really cool looking when you look at him too, and he's super intelligent.
He's weathered.
Yes. And it reminds me of Buffalo Bill a little bit with the
he could totally be a stand-on,
the patch skin.
Yeah.
Freaking vest is like, I'd fuck me. No, it's like, here, put your lotion on the skin, put it back in the basket. But but it has a lot to do with focusing in on how the mind works when it comes to theory and creativity in relation to craftsmanship, because we all get lost in the minutia of what we're doing. Like, when you're crafting something and you're making something, there's those moments where somebody says, oh man, that'd be really cool if you could just do this, and you're like, yes, I can do that, it'll take 40 hours. Oh no, it'll take real quick. No, but I do it this way. My mind works this way, and this is how I do it the best. But there's something so amazing about people being able to use their hands and their minds, the tools that are around them, the technologies they learn, the tools from old eras, and the things that we do in order to make the things that surround us. And people really like something that's got a lot of time, attention, energy to it. I think you actually ingest, or I say not ingest, you implement soul into something when you create it with your hands. And a lot of people that receive something that they witness it being made or understand the process that is gone through in order to create something like that, it has value. And it's not about the money as much as it is the end result of the product, because with quality work and craftsmanship and soul, there is expense. I mean, there's a lot of things that you and I do that are worth a lot of money just because it's freaking time consuming and it's money. But when you go further,
you kind of just said something that kind of made me kind of think about my own comments earlier. I think maybe I'm not stoked about my paint job because I didn't earn it. It was something I did quickly. You know what I mean? Unlike my FXR, where I literally painted the whole bike and wiped it off because it was off. You know what I mean? Like, I took that extra 2 weeks. I just didn't do that with this one. So I feel like maybe I'm not stoked about it or sold on it because there's no real struggle with it. It was something I just did super quick and got it out. You know what I mean?
So to that tune, there's a saying, and I've said it a handful of times to a number of people in my life, but everything worth having or achieving was done with some sort of struggle. Nothing that was acquired with great ease gains the most respect, because there's no value behind it. Not that there's no value behind it, but there's not the same value behind it. And to be able to acquire something with almost no effort, it's that entitlement mentality. Like, oh, I got that, man. Like, big freaking deal if you got that. Did you earn it? And when you earn something, there's definitely the struggle behind it. There's a story behind it too, sometimes there too. And that's a lot about a lot of craftsmanship is about that, because there's things that I do that are things that I've taught myself, and then I've learned how to do them better by other people's examples. And some of those people are 70, 80, 90 years old. Yeah. I come from traditional rod and custom era, like I said before. And so a lot of my friends are old hot rodder guys that you've seen in books and magazines and that are freaking celebrities. And they're some of my best friends, dude. And I have such great respect for the caveman tech aspect of how they've done it, because I know how to do it that way too. I know how to chop a car with a freaking angle grinder, a hacksaw, and a torch and welding wire, and that's it. Yeah. Like, And I'm talking about the welding part too. So, I mean, I typically gas weld my chops anyway, just because it's a softer join. It's easier to hammer and smooth and finish.
Well, I guess what could be kind of a struggle sometimes, and maybe, correct me if this doesn't apply to you, but like when you start acquiring so many different types of techniques and skills, and do you ever get like just like so much idea in your head that you can't narrow it down on which way to go with something?
No, I'm real quick with it.
For real?
Yeah. No, I understand the efficiency between one way or another, and I'm always not good about being the most efficient.
Yeah.
Because I just want it right.
Yeah. See, that's me. Well, with in the paint world, it's kind of everything is like you're trying to outdo your last one, right? I want this to be more efficient.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
The same
yeah. I want to
shit.
do this. I want to after every paint job I do, the next one I can do quicker, but I also want it to be different and better. So. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. I just feel like some of the last ones, maybe it's also because I haven't spent a lot of money on this bike, so I wasn't like financially invested into it as much. I wasn't time-wise invested into it. So I'm trying to, like, I'm a very sentimental guy. Like, everything that I have is something like I hold sentimental value to, like my helmets and shit like that. My fucking Espinosa leather vest or my denim vest that I got a long time ago.
I'm a hoarder too.
Yeah, same thing, right? That Whataburger cup means something to me. You put it down, motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know, man.
No, I totally get it. And, I have, you can walk through my shop, and I don't have all of the cool stuff in my shop still. Mm-hmm. I've been in there a year now.
Yeah.
And I have a 20 by 10 storage that's full of more stories than you have time to listen to. And I mean, every piece of something that I have, I know where it's from. I know what it lived through. I know who I got it from, what their story is about that part, how we interacted and became friends, and why I ended up with it, and what it means to me. I mean, dude, I have I have a Roadster that I built on the TV show that I was shooting for myself. Mm-hmm. Back in early 2000 something. And it was a TV show that was to be named Black Magic after my shop. And it was about the automotive aftermarket and the hot rod culture. And like, people look at parts and accessories and trends and styling cues and all these things, and it's second nature. They're just like, oh yeah, big wheels on freaking baggers, 34-inch wheels on Monte Carlos, whatever. Yeah. They don't understand that it has a lot more to do with the guys that were out at the land speed races with magnesium wheels, and one dude just is really OCD and polished them once, and all of a sudden, shiny wheels, oh my god, those are cool, can you make me some? Yeah. And that Hallebrand began the aftermarket wheel industry. So it's things like that I was trying to teach people about. Mm-hmm. And because I'm really blessed to have such amazing friends like Blackie Gehan, freaking George Barris, freaking Gene Winfield, all these people that were my friends, that I could lean on them. I met them through other really great friends of mine that were not celebrities, and got to work with each one of these people in some minor form or facet, or interview them or talk to them or speak to them. It was really important to me to find something that made a statement for myself. So I built this Roadster body that was a part of the traveling, what carried the show was the Roadster being built. The fascination behind the show was the people that I knew that could create the attention, which was the marketing potential for it. And then it was the history lesson. So the Roadster is this body that I got from a guy who I drove by his house all the time. I had a 64 Cadillac. He used to drive every day. Yeah. It's the only car I had. And I got that from a guy because he would drop off steering columns across the street from where I built mini trucks, and I joked with him about selling his Cadillac, and one day he goes, well, I got another one for sale. And so I showed up with $4,000 cash because he joked to me about it. Yeah. Got dropped off and sat there for 8 hours, and he wouldn't sell it to me, and finally he lets me take it. So anyway, I drive by this old property, and man, I couldn't get a hold of anybody that owned the property because I really wanted to buy trucks off this property. There were mountains of freaking cars and trucks there, and they were all like 47 to 53 Chevy pickups. There were old 30s trucks and cars and stuff everywhere, probably like 150 cars and trucks. And I never really walked on the property because I never wanted to get shot either. Yeah. So my kids even knew, like, I would drive by it and they'd be like, yeah, I know, you're going to get something off that property someday, whatever. So I would go by, I'd knock on the door, nobody'd answer all the time. So I drove up one day and I knock on the door and I hear someone yelling from the inside, "Go away." I'm like, "But I don't want to." And he was like, "I'm not here." I was like, "Obviously."
Yeah.
And it was just some old man in his house. And the whole house was smaller than this room in this apartment.
Damn. He hears everything.
And this is one of the most wealthy hay farmers in Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the dude had an empire. He had all those vehicles because he wouldn't fix them. He would go buy a new one if the brakes went bad. Didn't give a shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So he had a nice collection sitting out there.
A lot. There were over 60 47 to 53 Chevy pickups. I ended up buying 8.
That's cool.
But I developed this through-the-door relationship with this old man over the course of like 6 months, where I would knock on his door. He would yell at me through the door, and we'd have this little conversation, and he one day didn't answer the door. I thought he was dead. I'd never even seen this guy's face. For 6 months, I've been going by once a week to talk to him through his door. And we had some semi-meaningful conversation through the door because I'd ask him about his cars and trucks and stuff, and he would kind of talk about them. Then he'd realize he's leading me on something. He'd be like, "Don't want to talk about it anymore. Go away." And I'd be like, "Okay, fine, fuck you." Well, he didn't answer the door one day, and I was getting kind of worried. I was like, "I don't even know this guy or what he looks like. I can't even talk to the police and tell, hey, man, there's this dude. He's like not answering his door. Like, doesn't make fucking sense."
Yeah.
So I go to leave, and I'm like halfway to my car, and he comes out, pulling up his coveralls out. He's got no shirt on. His titties are hanging out and shit. And he's like, "What, you don't want to talk to me today?" And I'm like, "Well, freaking let the Lord shine the sun on you, dude." And so he's just standing there. He realizes he's outside of his house. And I come to find out he hadn't been out of his house in like a year or better. His son lives next door. And he's like 65, 70 years old. So we sit down, we talk for like 4 or 5 hours. Cars, trucks, farm, whatever.
Yeah.
Just whatever they want to talk about. I would feed him a little bit of info and let him just talk and talk and talk.
Just give him a couple trigger
Nuggets.
points.
Yeah, and he would just run with it, man. It was such a cool dude. And so I spoke to him for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months solid. And then he disappeared. Never heard from him. And I'd always scour the newspapers for sales and stuff because I'd buy and sell a lot of old cars. Like 25 to 50 a year, depending on what year it was. And then I saw an auction come up, and I realized everything that was listed, what was on that property. And I remember seeing a new double wide get put on that property and a big long ramp. And I was like, wow, that old man went to the hospital. I guess he came back.
Yeah.
And then he died a month out of the hospital and hospice in that trailer.
Damn.
So I go over there to look at the property. Bought those 47 to 53 Chevy pickups. Bought a 38 Ford cab over that ran. Bought a 51 Chevy that had bad brakes on it that still had titties on the tire that had 8 miles on it. Bought a 36 Ford flatbed. Bought a 36 Ford coupe. Bought a mid 30s Willis. Just a bunch of different shit, man. Mm-hmm. Bunch of bikes out there that I didn't know shit about bikes then, dude. I had nothing to do with them, but I saw like old Hondas and shit like this, and I kept like thinking, those are neat. Like, do you want to sell any of those? He's like, no, I'm not selling any of my motorcycles. I'm like, okay, whatever. And the guy that I was talking to was this crotchety old man. It was his son, and I didn't know it was his son. I just knew it was some dude running the auction or the sale. And so he priced everything out to me, and we're sitting there talking. And I said, yeah. I said, MC's a cool dude, man. I said, what happened to him? And he kind of tells me a little bit about it. He doesn't say he's his son yet. And I said, man, I really got to like that old man. I was like, he was a real crotchety ass piece of shit. Forever, he would never come out of his house. And he's like, yeah, he started coming out of his house at a certain point. He's like, I saw your car over there every once in a while. And he said, you're the only person he ever came out to talk to forever.
Wow.
I was like, that's weird. So he's like, you're the guy that I think my dad told me about. I was like, oh, you're his son. It's like, man, I'm so sorry for your loss. He goes, my dad and I hated each other. His dad, MC, said, no, you can't buy any of those cars and trucks. My son wants all of them. I'm going to let him have them because he deserves them. Oh, he hated his son for that. So it started when he was 10. So the guy that I bought my Roadster body from, so it was a 31 Ford commercial truck, which means that there's no windshield post, there's no doors, there's no seat. It's just literally a cowl, a front end, and plywood, and a flatbed. He was doing donuts and getting sideways with it in the freaking field, and he thought there was something wrong with the cylinder head gasket, so he took it off because it's the same as a tractor at that time, 4-cylinder flat. And he goes to ask his dad for that gasket, and he said, I want to buy it with my money. And his dad said, why'd you take it apart? He said, because I want to fix it. He said, well, why do you need to fix it? And he says, because it's broken. He's like, well, you don't need it then. He's like, you just go park that truck. And you didn't ask me if you could take it apart, and it's not yours anyway. And the gasket was hanging in the barn, and he's like, but you have a gasket. He said, that's my gasket, and you didn't ask me for it. He's like, I just asked you for it. And he's like, but it's not yours to have. He's like, but I want to pay you for it, and you could buy another one. He said, but that requires work, and I need this for a tractor. And he's like, but I'll buy another one. Anyway, so the truck sat.
Yeah.
When I got it, it had a 50 or 60 foot tall tree growing right through the driver's seat. And he wanted $2,000 for that body. And I still had to pay him $2,000 on that one for the body. So he's telling me this story, and he says, I hadn't really talked to my dad for like 10 years. He says, and that was only because we talked when my sister died. He said, but we hadn't talked since I was a teenager. We live right next door to each other. So this guy at 10 years old starts taking stuff apart, tinkering and fixing stuff around the farm. Because he's just is very mechanically inclined. Yeah. Super mechanically inclined. He became the first person in Texas to own CNC machining equipment.
Damn.
Extremely wealthy man. He learned how to do machine work because he got to where he liked to tinker with stuff and make it go faster. And then there's a really close friend of mine who's an NHRA Hall of Fame member, Wayne Calvert, out of Denton, Texas, performance engine builder. I know his son and him. Son's older than me. But they built the flathead motor for me in this, and they built a bunch of other stuff for me in the past. So I go to Wayne and I ask, or anyway, let me go over it real quick. Him and Wayne used to hang out back in the 50s. This is back in the hiatus of freaking drag racing, man, when everybody wore white and they had fucking cool club names all over their shirts and shit, and they were all like, whatever, just cool dudes with greaser hair and shit.
Yeah, I see those guys coming to Deep Ellum every once in a while.
All the time. And so Wayne taught him how to do machining manually in the shop as machine work. And they raced. Well, the guy that built his transmission, Jay Davis, is this old guy we call Studebaker Jay that was down the street from my shop when I bought all this shit. And I never met that guy at this point yet. Jay Davis built all his transmission. Wayne built all his motors. They all hung out and they all raced together. Well, he got in a motorcycle accident when he was younger in the middle of his drag racing era, hit his head on a train track because he was jumping a train track. Damn. So he has to get brain fluid drained off his brain freaking once a month. So his dad's always been mad at him for modifying and racing and fucking with shit. And he told him when he hurt his head, he said, see, that's what happens to you because you did that. God did that to you.
Damn. Right. Those.
Yeah. So he's they literally don't talk most of his adult life. He's in the hospital. Don't know what he died from. I never asked. I didn't care about the details. And his dad summoned him to the freaking hospital. And he didn't go for like 2 months.
Damn.
And so he finally goes, and his dad says, I need to talk to you. He says, you understand? So we didn't talk a whole lot. He said, but I realized that I never gave you the opportunity to just be yourself and understand you for who you were. Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? He says, I learned something about myself recently. He said, this faggot used to come to my door all the time and knock on it and would yell at me through my door, and I'd yell at him. I could see him. Not somebody I wanted to talk to. Tattoos, big holes in his ears, long beard and goatee and just long hair. And I was like, other than his Cadillac, he just looked like total freaking piece of shit. Yeah. He's like, but I really got to like him. He's like, I don't know if he told him, he's like, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been talking to this guy. He's been coming by the house all the time. And he's like, yeah, I saw you talking to him and stuff. They live fucking next door. And he says, I realized that I judged him and I realized what a neat guy he was, but I never gave you the opportunity to show me what a neat guy you were. And they bonded and became friends before he died.
That's kind of cool.
So his son comes to me with this conversation while we're sitting in his golf cart driving around. I'm buying all his shit, and he goes, everything you just priced today, half, except the Roadster. It's $2,000.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a Roadster, it's just a cow. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I pay him for it. Well, we go to film this for the show, and he neglects to tell me that there's a case of Union Pacific Dynamite still sitting in the farmhouse right next door. And then I realized, he's like, okay, you can't cut the tree down because if it falls on the house, we all die. I'm like, dude, I have people that can remove that shit if you like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we built this Roadster body as a 31 Ford Cal. I have 59 Ford Fairlane rear quarter panels, 4-door quarter panels that are the sides of the body, 64 Cadillac fins on the bottom, some made little duckbills over the rear taillights, 64 Cadillac hubcaps for the rear taillights with 59 Ford Fairlane freaking taillights in the middle of them with a 64 Cadillac rear bumper center.
Yeah.
It's got a 59 Bel Air Biscayne Impala gauge cluster in the middle of a 31 Ford dash, open engine. Dude, I had a $12,000 built flathead motor that I built for it that Wayne built. Okay, so the motor. I buy a 53 Ford for $1,500 running flathead in it. I'm like, perfect, that's the core, that's the motor I'm going to use. I pull it out, I take it to Wayne because I'm like super excited. I'm like, yeah, Wayne's going to build me my freaking race flathead and all this shit. And he's like, I don't build flatheads. So I quit building them a long time ago. Last guy I built one for was Jerry, which was MC's son. And at the time, I'd already known who Jerry was. I tried not to pretend like I knew who he was. Like, but I really need you to build this. I didn't tell him it was for the body that Jerry used to own.
Yeah.
Richard Birch. And so as I'm sitting there telling his son the story about the body, and he goes, oh, this is Richard's car. He's like, well, why don't you tell Dad that it's Richard's car that you're building? And so I do, and he's like, okay, I'll build your motor. Because it's Richard's, yes. So I have this NHRA Hall of Famer who taught this guy whose dad I interacted with, who brought friendship back in his life, who learned how to machine from, who became the first guy to own CNC machining equipment, who taught one of my closest friends how to machine, who now builds satellite pieces for freaking NASA that was next door to me at the time that I bought the body at a different shop that I worked at during the day. And so like all these little interconnected pieces create all this soul and story about all these little things for this Roadster. And for all of you that lost the whole point of this, it's about memories and like meaningful relationships and sentiment creating soul. Like there's so much soul built into that. And I'm in the middle of this thing, and this Studebaker dude drives up to my shop for the first time ever in the middle of this build while we're filming. Oh, what are you guys doing? He's flat biller from back in the day, dude. Like he was born that way in the 50s, or he's born in the freaking teens. And and Wayne, the guy that builds my motors, the dude's like in his 90s. He gets up every morning, walks 5 miles, does 20 push-ups, freaking like 100 jumping jacks, and doesn't smoke, doesn't drink. He is the most fit, able, smart motherfucker you'll ever meet in a machine shop.
Need to get his genes.
He's good, dude. I'm trying to clone him. But anyway, Jay walks up and he goes, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm putting this flathead motor. And I had just the stock transmission that came with this thing. I goes, what do you want that old piece of crap for? He's like, well, I got one of these. And so I was telling him what I was doing and where I got the body and stuff. And he goes, oh, he's like, Richard, I used to build all of Richard's transmissions. He's like, that's great. I'm going to show you a really cool trick. And so he gets a 3-speed manual transmission. And he makes a 3-speed manual overdrive, which becomes a 6-speed. So you put the manual overdrive in it, and you're able to go from first to first and a half, which is really second, and then you shift it into second, and then overdrive, and then third and overdrive, and it becomes a 6-speed from a 30s car. And on something that only has like a 400 gear set, like a S10 rear end, and weighs 1,200 pounds and 100 horsepower, that's okay. But I had a 200 horsepower flathead, which is super hard to do. Yeah. That's why it was so freaking expensive. But anyway, I had all these friends together, working together to work with me to build this thing for myself so many years ago. And it's just fun how all the pieces connected with the people that originally were involved together anyway. And so it's so meaningful to me. The downside is I did it when my I say my skills weren't as great, obviously, metal shaping at the time. I mean, this is like 99 or 2000. And I escalated way fast after that with a bunch of work that I was doing. But I have it, and everybody's like, you got to finish that. You got to finish that someday. I'm like, dude, it's an art piece for me now.
Yeah.
And it's soul. It's cool shit that's in storage that has a story that I'll always keep and I'll always like have hanging in my shop or sitting on a shelf or something to look at, or I'll stage it and put it together to where it looks like it's a complete piece because I have the frame, the body, and all that stuff. And I want to build that Roadster again someday. Mm-hmm. And so you talk about like that bagger having a place. Well, for me, that's going to have to be the Roadster. That thing that I do for myself, that sheet metal and craftsmanship and shaping and all that stuff, that'll become the Roadster.
Yeah.
But I will start completely fucking from scratch again.
You know, you had, like when you were building up that story, it was just kind of cool. Like all these older cats that all had these interactions growing up, and it was like this new young blood coming in and like reigniting that fire that probably for these guys has been long burned out. But it also kind of made me think of like the dynamic of like, like all the hamster dudes, like the, the Ness and the Rick Fairlesses and Perowitz, and like this kind of bond that all these guys built over years of being in the motorcycle industry. And, just trying to see like our current industry and see if that is a feasible thing that's in like possible. Is it possible for everybody to kind of like have that kind of camaraderie that those guys have built over the years in our generation of motorcycle building?
Well, what Dave and Arlen and Donnie did in the early days in order to create what became the Hamsters. Yeah. Those were all guys that were super classy dudes, man. Yeah. And they still are. Mm-hmm. Bless his soul, Arlen's no longer with us, but he's forever alive in his work. It
just makes you think,
it takes integrity, number one. It takes respect, and it takes a certain amount of value in order to actually have today become what yesterday was for tomorrow. And I'm not going to say that there's not somebody here today that can be that, but I think that there's plenty of people in play that as subcultures considered can be a guiding factor into what the future holds for us as motorcyclists and what those cultures develop into over a period of time. But it's so hard to look at this hierarchy of when it comes to people's emotional response, I call it emotional control. So like people like Arlen, they had emotional control over people because they influenced so many people to build and create and do because of the things that he did that evoked emotion with his work to other people. And his style is really broad, man. Yeah. I mean, when you look at smoothness versus his freaking knucklehead, I mean, dude, night and day, two different type of bikes. And there's something to be said about both. I mean, like the Knucklehead's one of my favorite bikes. Smoothness is probably my second favorite bike he ever made. Very Art Deco, super cool, smooth, Bugatti looking, Yeah. But it's hard to find somebody that I can look at in the industry right now and say, that dude is the one that's guiding us forward. But, the Hamsters are still a very alive, growing group of people. Now, it has a cutoff, like there's got to be a one in, one out thing. It's like Arlen's gone. It's like, wait, there's room for somebody. Who's that going to be? Yeah. And that's not, I don't mean that in speaking light about Arlen whatsoever, but it's kind of that thing. Like they capped it. There's a reason for it. They don't need there to be any more than a certain number of group. And you have to be vetted and sponsored in order to be a part of that organization. It's not something that you just get to become. Yeah. It's something where it happens because people see, number one, all those guys that are involved are businessmen. They're all people who have influence and some control within the industry. They're all people that have integrity, respect. They're all people that have charity in their life. And they're all people that have personality for the most part. I don't know a hamster personally. I'm gonna speak for myself, and I'm sure that there's a couple of guys that are listening that are hamsters will probably tell you different. I know a couple of hamsters I could ask them, be like, yeah, that dude's dry as shit. But I've not met many hamsters, or any actually, that didn't have personality, charisma, or were not exciting people.
Yeah.
You know, they're all, I think that group is tomorrow. And as that group maintains its presence and as it develops as the years continue, that group is still what will control the majority part of what is the beckoning interest of the industry. You know,
that's a good point. You know, like I mean, a lot of the great builders, you know, are in a part of that. I mean, pretty much all the great builders are from back in the day. You know, you got your outliers like your Billy Lanes and, you know, Jesse Jameses and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I guess I was just kind of, you know, thinking about that, you know, with all the stuff that, you know, with Ness passing away and then with Rook passing away and just two really iconic people. I mean, Ness has so much history and brought so much to this culture.
Ness is what became the motorcycle aftermarket. And
then you look at Jesse, who was still cranking out sick stuff, you know, who, you know, like, he was young. I mean, fuck, man, he had another 40, 20, 30 years of building badass bikes that were going to take place, you know? So, I don't know, man. Like, and I could be guilty for this of not being the super positive dude and trying to spread positivity all the time. And I think that's one thing I want to try to start doing more of is not being such a negative Nancy about shit all the time, you know. But
I get accused of being too positive and optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a fucking dork, you know what I mean? But I want to just, you know, like,
hey guys, I'm super excited about today. How are you guys doing?
Well, I'd just be a moto vlogger then.
Yeah, right.
Not just fucking with those guys.
You know, the thing is, man, is I've experienced some pretty interesting things in my life that are self-inflicted, that have caused some pretty major burdens on myself when I was younger. And there's something that I learned about, and during all that the world is such a simpler place than what you believe it is. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but you really just have to have gratitude for things that are around you, man. It's super important. I wake up every day and I literally sit there and say, God, thanks for my legs being able to move today while I'm laying in bed. I mean, super simple stuff. You know, the sun's shining. It's like, man, it's going to be a beautiful day. And I hear the birds outside. Thanks for freaking, you know, nature and just little dumb stuff like that. But it's because I'm becoming more conscious of my day. I'm becoming conscious of the things that I should be grateful for. I mean, I have a beautiful daughter. I have my own place to stay. I have my own shop. I have my own tools. I have abilities. I have all my appendages still. I have not cut anything off yet. And I have great friends. I get to ride motorcycles every day if I want. And I enjoy what I do for a living, man. I'm blessed to have an amazing body of work that I can show behind me. Mm-hmm. And I have a bunch of stuff that I'm never allowed to share that you guys will eventually and always continue to see when it's done, like months and years later. I do a ton of freaking prototype work for Toyota right now.
Yeah.
Anything that's rapid prototype, anything that's freaking last minute. I assist a company out of McKinney to provide them all of their immediate necessity type items, badges, emblems, grill bars, collision detection systems, freaking you name it, dude. We have a really cool concept, special project that I can't even talk about, that it's like when I saw it and they sent it to me, I was like, that's going to change freaking truck aftermarket.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, I can't wait to see this hit the market.
What like interests me a lot is how you could like turn one switch off of doing something like that stuff you just mentioned for Toyota, to turn around and building a bike like we talked about earlier, to then doing some badass artwork like the K River sign, you know, which is not a super complicated thing, but it's craftsmanship.
There's fun in it, man. I mean, I don't believe staying founded in one particular industry is really. I mean, I do general contracting, man. Are you kidding me? I just got done doing an 18 foot tall spiral staircase and a bunch of handrails and all this stuff, ornamental ironwork. I mean, dude, that whole job was like $40,000. You know, like, I'm not turning that down.
Yeah,
it's a $25,000 staircase. Yeah, you know, and I'd love doing that stuff. But I hear people all the time like, oh man, you know, work's tough, man. The industry's down. People aren't buying. I'm like, that's cool. I'm busy doing something else then.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have that issue. And like I said, I'm not a bike builder. I'm not a fence maker. I mean, I used to own a fence and deck company, for crying out loud, and do decorative concrete. And like, I'd get up at 2 a.m. and stamp concrete or do stone walkways and shit, man.
Yeah.
I just like to make shit.
Yeah, it's all about that creative outlet, pretty much.
Even Adam's sign, as basic as it is, there's a ton of work in the patina that's on the freaking letters.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Pieces.
The craftsmanship of everything that was put onto that. It's
also a couple hundred pieces that make that sign up.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's just so much to it. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess your outlet for a lot of things is being creative in another area. Like, for me, like when I'm so sick of paint, I resort to motorcycling or fucking playing a video game or something to do something. But it seems like what you do is you just make something in some other area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, when I was 17, I went to prison. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that joke, it's not a joke, it's a saying, whatever you want to say, you know, that, what is it?
I don't know.
Idle, whatever. I don't drop soap. No. Idle hands are the devil's time, idle hands, something. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, keywords, idle hands, devil, time. I have no idea how the saying goes. But I've always kept myself busy. I've always been a workaholic anyway, man. I had my first job when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was skateboarding across the neighborhood, pushing a lawnmower in front of me with a gas can, bungee cord to the top of the freaking lawnmower with the weed eater strapped to my back with bungee cords and like flyers that I hand wrote, and would go mow yards and weed eat and edge yards and stuff for like 25 or 30 bucks a piece. And before that, I was in school. Man, I used to go to Sam's Club with my mom, and I'd buy blow pops for $25 for 100 of them. Mm-hmm. Or no, it was $10
something
for 100. They were 10 cents a piece, and I was selling them for 25 cents a piece. And so there I was making 15 cents a sucker.
Yeah.
You know, and I was a drug dealer when I was younger too. That's good business. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't get caught doing drugs. But, you know, I've always been business oriented, and I've always been busy doing stuff. But, man, when I got out, it was like, I'm going to stay busy.
Yeah.
And before I went in, way before I went in, I quit doing drugs. I say way before I went in. Yeah, I was 17. Man, how much shit did you do before you're 17?
I quit doing drugs at 12.
Dude, I had a really busy young adulthood, let me tell you. I really got to a point in my life where I found that if I stayed really busy, I was fucking up less.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I was really thirsty for knowledge, just stuff. I mean, dude, when I was 15, I jackhammered 2.5 tons of concrete out with my dad. That was my birthday present. My dad gave me a 15-ton or 7-ton or some shit jackhammer, and we jackhammered out like all this concrete and hand loaded it in a dump truck. So, I mean, I've always been around different stuff. My mom, real artsy, stay-at-home mom, super cool. Mother's Day, shout out all you moms. Today being Mother's Day. Not that the day you'll be listening to this podcast is Mother's Day. It's retrospect. But
well, I'm getting into that right now because, you know, I'm taking over my mom's house. Like, it's kind of like mine. It's kind of like both of ours, but I'm going to live in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of handy with a little bit of construction and things like that. But I've never lived somewhere where I had an incentive to fix up the place. Right? Never. So now I am. And basically, I'm going to stay here for 5 years, try to make it nice, give it some good amenities to it, and then sell it. And me and Mama are going to split the money. And then it'll give me the kind of money I need to kind of start my life at 42 or 3.
Right.
Which is crazy. But, you know, like doing what I do for a living, man, like, you know, and I'm sure for the same thing, it's always been hard to, like, pay a lot of money in on taxes. It's all, you know, for self-employment, like, dude, if let's just say that I spent 70 grand on my bank account, I got 70 grand worth of fucking receipts like that. Like, it's there, you know? So it's really hard to kind of, in this type of industry, to be like really good at showing a huge income of tax. That way you can afford to buy a house and shit on paper. And, you know, all the different other amenities like healthcare and shit like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's expensive.
It's a really tough thing to be able to maintain and do self-employment, especially when everything is just constantly getting more expensive. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, like our property taxes and our cost of living here in the DFW area just seems to keep going up and up and up.
Well, you know, the problem with property taxes and price increases and all that stuff too, the issue is the appraisers go out there and they do their half-assed job of appraising everybody's property, and everybody's probably been victim of this, and then they have to go dispute it. Well, the problem is that not enough people dispute it. And the problem is the greater percentage doesn't dispute it because they think, oh, that's just the way it is. They're not intelligent enough to go fight it. And so because the greater volume increases, the people that are fighting it and keeping it low are few and far between. But because the greater percentage is higher, newer properties and properties when they hit market and they sell because they're reflecting comps in the area are all higher. And so it just continues to inflate. And I am real grateful for the work that I have from Toyota. Extremely. But Toyota moving to North Texas is only one drop in the bucket as to one of the reasons why property values are so high here. My dad lives in the Colony right across from where that is. He still has 1970s cabinets, so he's fighting it.
For real?
Yeah, he fights it all the time. My dad's property's worth a shit ton of money if he freaking ever just sucks it up and says, okay, we're good. We'll let you charge me what it is.
That's the same thing that's happening at my mom's house, right? The house is kind of ran down. It ain't great, right? It's super small, but they keep coming in every year. They're giving her like a big percentage, like fucking 5-10% hikes.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a big deal on your payment. You know, 10% on a $100,000 house that's a lot of fucking taxes to pay every year. You know what I mean?
My dad's annual house payments.
I think that I'm wrong on those percentages, but go ahead.
It's okay. No, my dad's property value was estimated to go up 18% this year.
Dude, I mean, think about it. 18%.
That's a tremendous amount.
Yeah, and I mean, you break that down. I mean, that could double, triple your monthly payments kind of thing, you know, if you're rolling all that shit in there. So
my dad's house is paid off, but in 1977 he bought the house for $34,000. He's in the middle of a corner alley lot. So the alley Y's off right where his property is, and he has the longest, biggest backyard there is in the neighborhood. And he's got a bunch of really great old growth trees, nice brand new outlier building. The foundation's been fixed in the last 5 years. All the outside trim's been redone, repainted, painted. He's a landscape freak.
Yeah.
So it's like stone and custom stone sidewalk and super nice plants. The nicest grass in the whole fucking city, dude. And he's obsessive about it to the point that he just put some really large boulders along the alleyway so that people would have to hit them instead of his grass. And the first weekend, dude, this woman ripped her bumper off the car. So it's just kind of funny. I told him we need to set up a game camera down there so that we can get video of people hitting the rocks and then put it on YouTube and call it the rock cam or some shit and just, I don't know, something. Maybe we can get one of those game camera companies to sponsor us. Shout out gamecameras.com. It's one of those things where if he really began to allow them to create value for his property in like 2 or 3 years' time, his house would be worth more than $500,000 sitting where it is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
especially for here.
And it's literally a house right now that he's got the value fought at $170,000. And that's still worth more than, it's still higher than what we think it's worth because he's got new carpet-ish in the last 15 years. He
15 years.
Yeah, okay, I know, right? But he still has the original cabinets in that house. Yeah. Now, if him and I went in there, we remodeled the whole entire house and updated all the appliances and shit and changed the floor plan around a little bit, we could modernize that house. Now, he's also got a huge freaking koi pond. Like, dude, my dad's got $5,000 fish.
Damn.
Yeah, some freaking 2.5, 3 foot long koi fish. Like, really, really old koi.
Yeah.
He also has like it's dead. We had a 3 foot long catfish in there too for a while. Massive koi pond with a bridge over it and stuff. He's got like terraced planters in the back with a freaking hot tub and like a little valley. And it's
that's
like
what I'm trying to get, is a hot tub.
Super pimp. Dude, I thought, so a buddy of mine, Terry, we stayed at his place in Kansas on the way back from Sturgis last year. He lives in an old bowling alley. Or he doesn't live there. That's his shop. It's an old bowling alley and a rec center. And so it had like a basketball room, and then it had offices in the front, and in the back had a bowling alley. Well, this is where they build their off-road race cars and shit. They do like the Baja races and stuff, and they race like Ultra Force. So I go in there and I'm looking, and he goes, "Yeah, the hot tub's on. Should be hot." I had a buddy of mine go by there and turn it on. And I thought to myself, I spend so much time at my shop. Can I afford enough space in my shop to put a hot tub? I mean, I kind of can. Yeah. There's no hot tub in my apartments. I'm kind of upset about it. Brand new apartments. Yeah. There's a pool. There's a mama pool, you know, the one with the chairs in it. And then there's the kid pool. But there's no hot tub. Yeah,
they don't want y'all getting all rowdy and naked up in there.
But you know what's funny? Is that there's the gym is the windows right next to the pool. So, like, you can go work out and, like, check out all the chicks suntanning at the same time. But yeah, I was like, man, could I put a hot tub? Could I put a hot tub in my shop? I got 5,000 square feet. I think I can swing that somewhere.
Yeah, since we're moving out of downtown back towards, you know, we're going back to Waxahachie, so it's like 30 miles south. And there ain't shit to do there but get DWIs pretty much. So
yeah, I've heard.
That's where I got mine. So yeah, so I want to try to make this house
like I heard.
Super, I just want to make it fun to where I don't want to leave it, you know. I don't have any reason to. Dude, I'm getting old, man. I can't be running these fucking bars all the time. You know what I mean?
No. And like for me with my shop, so the space I'm in is 5,000 square feet. It's got a 2,000 square foot room and a 3,000 square foot room. And I thought about building a shipping container home in it.
That'd be cool.
And a mezzanine, all modular on stilts. To where when I move out, I can just drop it, take it out, and move it, and I can put it anywhere. I can build a foundation and set it on the foundation. I can freaking put it in another building. I can put it in a garage. I can put it anywhere.
You seen all that barn? I mean, I know you have all that barn dominium type stuff that people have been doing.
Yeah, and I know all the rules about the barn dominiums too when it comes to code and city, out of city, and whether or not what percentage of it could be your domicile, et cetera, and how much your taxes are going to be relative to whether or not it's a sleeping space / storage, all that crap.
I'm starting to like see those guys. You know, you ever see those houses, nice little house on the country, but there's like a RV next to it that someone lives in.
Yeah,
I want to be that dude one day. If none of my shit pans out really well, I'm just gonna find a homie and be like, hey, dude, come on, I'll paint a helmet for you every other month or some shit. You know?
Well, and for me, so my daughter, she'll be out of school 2 years from now. She's just turned 16, and she'll be a junior next year.
My daughter graduates next year. Yeah, next year. So this time next year she graduates from high school, and I don't know how this works. Isn't the child support thing where it's like
well, she's 18.
Yeah, it's 18. But I think if they go to college, you still got to pay.
No,
they don't.
18.
Cool. I'm fucking throwing a party, dude.
18. What you were thinking of is when. Okay, this is what your mind is saying, and you don't realize it. When you have health insurance on your child, if they are a dependent or they're going to college, they could be underneath you on your policy. Once they're 18 and they don't live with you and they're on their own and they're not going to college, they cannot be underneath you on your health insurance policy. I believe that's what you're thinking in your head. I'm
not sure. I'm just hoping that I'll get another one. I know like I was talking with my daughter and I was joking with her. I was like, you know, one more year and I'm gonna buy me a Corvette or some shit, you know what I mean? And but I kind of know, man, like I know that I'm gonna be pretty much forking over money for years to come with her, you know what I mean?
Well, my ex is about $10,000 in the hole on child support right now.
Yeah, if she's a woman, she'll get away with it.
Yeah, and that's what kills me, man, is like she's upside down. If I was freaking $1,000 in the hole, I'd be in jail.
Yeah, dude, my daughter came to live with me from when she was 3 till she was 11, and that whole time I'm on child support. She's living with me. Her mom's like cracked out somewhere, can't find her, right? They start doing my bank accounts and shit, and you know, like taking all my money, taking all my shit, and I'm like showing up with my daughter, like, look, bro, I don't have the money to get a lawyer to come and prove what's obvious. You know what I mean? And they just, fortunately, I found her one day and I had to cut like $1,000, and I just kind of like say, hey, dude, I'll give you $1,000 right now. Just go to the child support place and just do one of those affidavit things. That way it shows that, just tell them I've been paying you or whatever, and that they'll actually get rid of a lot of the fucking money. But did that, and then it helped me out because I was like $16,000 in the hole, you know?
Friend of mine sends me or calls me the other day. I'm in the middle of making some stuff, trying to get Toyota out the door. And he says, hey, man, call me back when you get a chance. I'm like, okay, what's up, man? Text me real quick. I'm just really busy. I'll call you when I get done here tonight. I may be really late. He's in Seattle. And he goes, well, pause. It's a girl. And I was like, what? I said, dude, put your Peter up. And he goes, wait for it. I was like, twins? And he doesn't say anything. And he sends me a picture of this young woman and him FaceTiming, and I'm like, dude's married, got kids. I was like, dude, put your Peter up. I was ready to slap him through the phone. I was like, I don't even understand what's going on. He goes, hold on now. I was like, waiting. He goes, it's my 24-year-old daughter.
Damn.
I said, dude, this is the thing we've been telling you your whole life, to put your Peter up. I was like, she's 24. That means you were 19. I said 19. I started thinking back at like who he was with when he was 19. And I was like, shit, a lot of girls, man. So she hired a private investigator to come find his ass. She's a tattoo artist out of Portland. He lives in Seattle, so they're actually really close to each other. He's meeting her this week.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's weird, man. I don't know. I mean, it's cool that
I asked him if she asked about child support yet. He makes a lot of damn money, too.
He does?
Yeah. He only works 6 months a year.
You know what I always thought would be...
On purpose, because he has a child with medical disability.
Yeah.
Severe medical disability. He, on purpose, only works 6 months out of the year on the books.
Yeah.
Because he was busting his ass, doing everything he can to get the medical care for his kid. It was costing him so much money that almost 80% of his income was consumed by medical care. 80%, dude.
Damn.
Because he made too much money to qualify for any kind of support. They did the math and they figured out where he had to be in order to do it. They said, you can only make this much a year. And if you make this much a year, 100% of his medical care is covered.
Nice.
If you pay this little meager amount a month. And that's what he does.
I always thought, you know...
But I mean, he makes an ass ton of money in 6 months.
Not to keep this on child support things, but you ever met anybody...
Stories with Jason Chris.
You ever met anybody that like had one of those stories where they had a kid with a chick and they raised it for X amount of years and then found out it wasn't theirs, kind of thing?
Yes.
That's got to be the like.
Yeah.
I always like in hindsight think like, you know, I'm pretty confident in my kids, but like, you know, you just think like, fuck, man, like I couldn't imagine, because you know when you have a kid, like that shit is a real deep like ingraining love that goes into your body with those for those fuckers and shit. So
my oldest daughter is 22, and I raised her since she was 6 months old. I never got to adopt her, anything like that. My ex-wife already had her before I met. And we went to high school. We didn't go to high school together. We had friends in high school together. We went to two totally different schools. But she had this beautiful little daughter who was just so freaking cool. And I loved hanging out with her and her kid. And I saw this, you know, at the time, beautiful woman with this amazing little kid. And I was just like so sunk into that, man. I was like, dude, this is a beautiful thing. And I raised her, and, you know, we got divorced. She was about 14 or so. But it's just as painful too to raise somebody who's so close to you for so long and then not have access to them because of the divorce. Yeah, like that was tough, because I let her have the kids because I didn't want her not to have the kids and then not have a sanity point where she didn't work well with the kids or me, because, you know, mama's happy, kids are happy kind of thing. That was a bad choice, because she became a meth addict, taught my oldest how to smoke meth, and then got that fixed and got the kids taken away from her and shit. That's why I have custody of my youngest daughter right now.
For real?
And my oldest was taken away at the same time. And she went in and out of rehab and stuff.
The oldest one lives in
she's in Seattle. Yeah, she's clean now too, man, on her own accord. That's and everybody told her to fix herself, and that didn't work because that's just dumb. And then, she took some steps on her own to clean herself up because she saw how her sister was living. Because she was with me, and she was a little jealous of that, but she saw that.
How old is she?
22.
Okay.
And then by example, she was able to absorb that life is actually pretty awesome. And so she lives with her grandparents in Seattle now. But yeah, man, I do have a friend, real close friend of mine, actually. He raised twins. He finds out at the graduation that he's not the father.
Damn.
The father showed up to the graduation, was a guy that kind of was like always a family friend.
Yeah.
And he always thought it was weird that he liked to come by and hang out for like birthdays and shit sometimes, and he would buy presents.
Weird. Do you ever see that Black Mirror episode where that took place?
Mm-mm.
Dude, have you seen Black Mirror?
None of it.
I probably sound like Joe Rogan right now, but that shit is fucking trippy as hell, dude. And there's an episode where that took place where like it's all about, it's like the Twilight Zone for the technology era, right? The whole show is, or it's like different. Each episode is a completely different show, right? And this episode was about everything you see, you can record and play back in your head. Like it's all, you're always recording. So it, like this weird thing started taking place, and this dude found out, and he ends up like going and getting his chick to like play back that memory. And then, yeah, dude, their kid and everything. That show's a fucking trip, man.
Crazy.
I recommend it to anybody. But yeah.
No, I haven't seen it. That's on Netflix too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Netflix show.
Yeah, I've seen it listed. I just never watched it. It'll be my next binge television show.
It's some good shit, man. And it's crazy because like honestly, I think is watching that show is what kind of puts me in these weird like idiotic states where I think I'm trying to like decipher humanity with social media and technology. Like I have any fucking stake in it. Like I'm still just learning how to be a painter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let alone any of this, but. Yeah, it's a pretty compelling show to watch. You know what I mean? So
I don't get to watch a lot of television, man. I work non-stop, and then I have a couple series that I've watched. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, like, who hasn't seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm a Walking Dead fan, like a son of a bitch, man.
I lost interest in that, like, the last 2 seasons.
The problem is, like, I don't watch it live anymore because I don't pay for TV anymore. I refuse to. Why do I need to spend 60, 70, 80 bucks or whatever the hell it is to have cable have, like, 5 channels and 2 shows that I want to watch?
Yeah, exactly.
And, for never being home, to watch it. I mean,
I'm about to put a TV in my shop. I don't watch a lot of TV, but
you want to have that Adam Garley atmosphere.
Exactly. So Adam Garley's the one that got me wanting to do this, where he has he'll have like a Joe Rogan playing like the actual episode on YouTube or whatever on the TV while he's working. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. I love music, but I've heard it all. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, and for my taste in music, I haven't heard music come out in years that was just like, dude, this is sick. It's almost like I'm still finding bands from the last 20 or 30 years that I never listened to that I'm finding that I like. But, like I've been on a Black Keys thing for like the last 2 years. And I'm like, all right, I'm pretty much over that shit right now.
Black Keyed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the YouTube thing is starting to get like fun to watch. And it's like when I'm sitting at my desk working, nice little 32 on the wall, with the just little smart TV playing, YouTube shows or whatever. I thought it'd be pretty cool.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. It varies, depends on what it is. I have a handful that I subscribe to. I have some that I don't, that I just pick up on every once in a while. I like to learn, really.
Yeah, dude, I agree. Like, what's some of the ones you like to learn from? Like,
do you ever listen to one called The Dollop?
No.
Yeah, it's the weirdest one.
For real.
The guys are a little annoying to listen to. It takes a little bit to get through. I'm just going to ask every one of you guys to go listen to any of them to please forgive me first. But The Dollop is Anthony Reynolds and Gareth something. I can't remember his name. It started off as an American history podcast. Mm-hmm. And they go all the way down into some like 1800 shit, 1600s, whatever. I mean, they got the story about Levi Strauss in there to learn about that. P.T. Barnum. I mean, there's some really fucked up stories, dude.
For real?
Oh, the worst one? Anybody that wants to hear a real bad one, if you have a bank account at Wells Fargo, go listen to the Wells Fargo one, because you're like, oh, American history, this is going to be old shit. Oh, no, dude. It's all the way up to like last year.
Yeah.
And it's really fucked up. Like, they're still a bank, and I can't believe it.
Yeah, I got Wells Fargo.
So that's it. MFCEO project.
Yeah,
I've listened to Andy Frisella since day one, which is interesting too, because right when he started, another friend of mine reposted some of his Instagram content, and I saw it and I was like, that dude speaks my language. So I don't really listen to him a whole lot. I'll catch bits and pieces of him now because he does stay a lot of the same stuff over and over, and I kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has that entrepreneur kind of vibe, like that 180 in the Dream podcast and Gary Vee and all those. I've listened to a couple of them, and there's things that I take from it. I ain't gonna lie, like I listen to even Danny Dixon's,
180 Dream. Yeah.
You listen to that and you're like, fuck, man. Like,
there's always a takeaway.
You start looking at your table like, I need to start a business, like a real one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always a takeaway from all those. Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody I paid attention to for a long time. That dude's got a lot of freaking pulse action. Like, that dude knows what's going on.
I haven't listened to Danny's in a while because he's kind of been a little inconsistent.
He just came back. 8 month hiatus. He just got a couple episodes in now.
So when he just did the one with Brian Clock, I really liked that one.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
That was good. I liked it. I haven't listened to that one yet. I think that Danny could, I don't know what, the weird thing about podcasts is that people always ask, hey man, how many subscribers you have? It doesn't tell us.
No.
It's just about downloads. All we know about anything is how many times something gets downloaded. That's it. There's not like, I have 500 subscribers on iTunes. It doesn't work that way.
I listened to Between Two Wheels guys also.
Yeah.
That was only because I'd met them recently.
Yeah, those are,
they've got a bunch of good information. They're really good on stats. I would never want to ride my bike around Ken because I don't want to be rear-ended or have him eat me. Yeah. I think that he's the bigger of the guys. I can't really remember.
The Between Two Wheels is the one from down in San Antonio, right?
Yep. Yeah. They asked if I'd do the podcast. They actually... I didn't know who they were. I didn't know they had a podcast. You guys introduced me to them at the meet and greet. Yeah. And they were super nice guys, and I was grateful to have a few minutes with them and talk to them when I was busy hammering that 19-inch rim out. Yeah. With the hammer that we got from 7-Eleven.
Our anniversary party.
Yeah. And
you know what's cool about their podcast? And just like I just did that podcast with Justin from Bike and Bird is, from the outside looking in, like just being a viewer of like all these moto vloggers and all these things that people do, I'm a very experienced biker, and I've been riding for quite a while, and not as much as everybody, but more than some, and so some of the like the moto vlog content can be very boring, like, basic for like my level of motorcycling.
Correct.
But that's surface value, and then when I started to get to know them, and when I started like considering doing something like that myself, I was like, holy fuck, dude, these dudes are talented. Like,
they spend a lot of time dedicating attention and time to the research, and they got jobs.
Yeah. So, we all do.
Yeah, so. Right. So it's not like that's their gig 100%. Yeah. But yeah, no, they just celebrated a year, 2 years or something like that.
But yeah, the same thing you just said about their podcast, I enjoyed it too. It's like, it's a good vibe of facts. Like, here you're getting the best opinions.
It's like looking at motor. It's like opening a moto trend.
Yeah.
But for motorcycling, the guys are using that kind of attention and value. Yeah. And there's a bunch of basic stuff they have in there too. Like, they talk about gear and stuff in their first couple episodes. But like, that's everything that you want to cover the basis on anyway, so that people that are, newer to the industry or newer to motorcycling, they have value in that too. Yeah. You can't just go, hey, this podcast is for everybody that's ever ridden motorcycles for the last, 400,000 miles and freaking got 20 motorcycles in their garage. Yeah. Multimillionaire. Yeah, like, what is that? I just narrowed my market down to 2 people in the United States.
I started listening to the off and on when they do it, but that the Naked Willie podcast, you listen to that yet?
No, I have not heard that one.
So they're kids, man. It's like, I feel like I'm listening to my little brother, and it's good. Like, what I like about it is it's like I'm not really very in that scene, like that stunt scene, that whole world. I'm not into it. Like, I'm not really into it from a an aspect of caring about a dude doing a wheelie, because I've been seeing that shit for 20 something years now. I'm kind of over it, but their passion for it and their lifestyle behind it, that's interesting to me. You know what I mean? Like, so listening to their podcast has been great, and it's a great dynamic because they have like the chick on there and the dude, and they kind of, you know, it kind of plays well. But it just goes to show, like, there's gonna be more podcasts, more people doing it in the next year. It's gonna become. I honestly think
it's so funny though, because you keep going. I've heard you say a number of times how the podcast thing's getting hot. The podcast thing's getting hot. Dude, I've been listening to podcasts for years, man.
Yeah, but
like years before you were doing your podcast.
Yeah, and you know, like fucking Jason Hallman with the speed metal build was doing it 10 years ago.
So early, man. So he was like ahead of his time for.
The thing is, though, it is getting more popular now, where you have more.
There's definitely some more influence.
Yeah, it's almost like podcasting is. I mean, dude, I said this before on this podcast. We were driving back from the Easy Rider show and listening to the radio because my buddy got a car that has no. It's just dated, I guess. I don't know. So we were listening to the radio, and like they just kept podcasts, like iHeartRadio by podcast, you know. And it's like does people listen to the radio anymore? I mean,
did you ever get into Anchor?
Anchor is the
app.
Yeah, no,
you could do. I got on there initially because I was going to start doing some tech stuff, like shop tech stuff, and basically Anchor is a short form podcast. Audio only type thing. Like you can literally do like minute long audio, and then people can reply to it.
Yeah,
which was kind of fun because you could say, you know, do a real quick minute long segment on something, and then people could reply to it, and then it would be conversation changed. So it was kind of like the forum days.
Yeah,
when you'd like post up a picture about your Acura NSX wannabe freaking whatever
wide body.
Yeah, and then people would be like, "Oh, dude, where'd you get the lug nuts at?" And this guy would be like, "I got them at AutoZone." It's like, "Dude, AutoZone sucks. You should have bought them at O'Reilly's." And be like, you know, huge chain of freaking conversation. And then you get subscribers and freaking listeners and all that crap, and you feed off each other, and you could create mentions by creating tags and stuff. It was an interesting concept, but I don't think it ever really took off.
I do wish, you know, I like the aspect of like talking to people. Like me and my brother last year, we did a podcast, a Q&A, where we like went like Instagram live and just asked us questions. That was really fun doing that, but it's you know, I've been buying all this GoPro shit to do like, you know, YouTube live and shit. Our YouTube is just, you know, it's fucking laughable, you know, because we only got like 500 subscribers. So doing something live on there would be kind of pointless because not people are gonna be able to see it. But
so are you saying that if you had the medicine that cured cancer, but you only knew 2 people, that you wouldn't share it with them?
No, well, maybe.
I'm just saying.
What I think would be cool is
it has to. The foundation for anything great starts as a foundation. And
what I want to do.
I mean, go look at some of the very first podcasts that Joe Rogan's ever done, and they're so laughable, dude. He had no. Okay, do you follow Ed Milet?
Nope.
You're stupid. Sorry. Ed is an amazing human being. Ed and Andy are business partners in a few things also. They have the RTA Syndicate, which is a business men's empowerment group. So Ed Milet is got a really unique story. Ex-ball player. Dude is fucking wealthy. Okay. But he's done it the right way. Owns a lot of businesses, worth quite a bit of money, but he is super grateful. He's super in tune. He's super connected, and it's one of those things like when he knew he wanted to do Tim, what's his name? Not Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy? No, what's his name? Tim Ferriss. So anyway, Tim Ferriss, you ever listen to him? Okay, you should go listen to Tim Ferriss.
I'm like real basic on my podcast list.
Tim Ferriss is an amazing human being also. He's got a lot of freaking information for you. So Tim Ferriss is one of Ed's mentors. Ed was like, man, I want to do this thing. It's called a podcast. And Tim's like, yes, you should do that. It's like, you're great with speaking with people. You need to do a podcast. Like, I think I should have a podcast, but you know why I didn't pick one up? Because I ain't got fucking time for it, dude. Yeah. Like, I talk too much. So I hope you got a big data plan for today's podcast. But, you know, Tim says, okay, yeah, do a podcast. He goes, yeah, great, I'll do a podcast. And he's like, wait, how do I do a fucking podcast? So he calls me and goes like, hey man, how do I do a podcast? So here, I'll send you a list. This is the basic shit you need to go buy to do a podcast. He says, great. So he orders all this shit and he gets it. He's got his little audio recorder, the one with the 2 mics that stick out like this. Yeah. And he's like, used to have one of those too. And he's like, records this thing and he sits down and he does his interview with his buddy. And they're like, man, that's awesome. And so he calls Tim up and he goes, all right, man, how do I give this to people? How do people hear it? And he says, well, you take out your thumb drive or whatever, your memory stick out of it. And he goes, what's a memory stick? And he goes, well, it's in the voice recorder. And he goes, where's that? And he goes, in the side, open the little door. And he opens it and goes, well, there's not one in it. He goes, you didn't buy one of those too? And he goes, well, you didn't tell me to. I was like, well, I thought you knew. And he goes, well, shit. He's like, okay, go buy a memory stick and record another podcast. So he gets one, he records it, and he goes, cool, I did it, man. Now, what do I do? And he's like, well, you put it in your computer. And he goes, well, I put it in my computer. Well, how do I get it? Do people just get it? He had no fucking clue how to get it out there. Ed has the #1 business podcast in the world.
Damn.
Okay? So he started with no concept or idea or even quality, for that matter, of what he does. You're telling me that you're too chicken shit to start your freaking YouTube channel?
Pretty much.
Colonel Sanders didn't start his fucking business until he was 65.
Yeah.
Okay?
So this is my plan. This is a thought for one of them. I do have lots of plans. If anybody needs plans, I got them. So
that's your new business.
Yeah.
Jace's plans.
I got plans, but so what I was thinking of is for an idea of an entry level YouTube start is do say if you were here, so in my house I'm about to get, I'm gonna set up the garage to do studio shit, basically camera, everything. And basically you could come over, we could do this podcast, but we could do, hey, this is gonna be, hey Moos, we're gonna do this is gonna be all YouTube. They're asking us questions and we're just talking about the questions they're asking us, and it'll be live, but we'll still record it so that when it can be mixed and throw back out as an actual podcast later on.
You realize that Forever Two Wheels already does a whole layer of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, yeah, I know.
No, I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
if you want to pick up a little bit of how to on what you should be doing, man, Chris, Heather, and Ken, they're on every fucking platform all at once, live streaming every time they do a podcast.
He has the equipment that he uses to do what he puts out is fucking expensive.
I know this.
So I'm gonna do it with a GoPro.
Find a way to caveman tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. What GoPro are you rocking now?
I got the new one.
Oh, of course you do.
I got that baller shit, dude.
Jace can't have nothing but the newest.
Yeah, I just got a new PlayStation.
I'm still running a Hero 4.
So I went and bought that new PlayStation because mine took a shit.
Right.
And 1 terabyte does everything PlayStation does, right? $300, right? That GoPro was $400 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how much certain things are in technology and how much little other things are,
Dude, my freaking Canon 5D Mark III, it's like a $5,000 body, brand new.
Yeah. I
was real fortunate to buy it at $1,200 with 11,000 shutter on it too, which is super awesome.
Yeah.
And I got that because it takes the compact flash and it takes the bigger flash drive, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So
not the micro, but the SD card.
It takes the SD card and it takes a big compact flash. So I can shoot 2 formats at the same time on 2 different cards. And I always have raw backup, plus I can shoot medium or high quality JPEG, and I can stream it directly to my freaking phone and put it on social immediately.
Yeah.
But
dude, I was doing that too with my Nikon. Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot of photos, but now with my new the damn iPhone X was so fucking nice, and when I would put that into Lightroom or Photoshop, I was like, man, this is. I mean, yeah, the quality from my camera is better, but the setup time and everything was just so much more.
It was the trip that I just took too. I was like, I'm gonna take my camera because I'm gonna take some bomb ass photos on the way back, and I'm like, man, I'm really gonna be hauling ass.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everything I'm sharing is going to social media. It's not going to my website.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna shoot it with my freaking phone.
It's just easier.
Yeah, and I've only got a 8.
Yeah.
But, man, the new Samsung phones.
Yeah, I don't
have a wide angle option.
They do.
Yeah, so you know bike pedestals.
We got panorama, dude. That's the most widest of the wide.
But it's 360. I've done it. You could see my left arm in both shots, or both ends of the shot. The wide angle function on the new Samsungs, there was, what's his name? Christian Newman.
Oh, yeah.
We're standing with
his shop. Didn't he just put a shop together?
I haven't noticed him do something.
Might have been. I'm not sure.
You know, he's an engineer.
Yeah,
the dude's incredibly fucking smart.
Yeah,
he's standing next to one of his older builds that's at the Hand Built show this year, and I had never seen it before. It's a little turbo bike. Believe it was a Sportster originally. Don't get me lying. He's gonna be like, no, you dumb fuck. It was something else. Sorry, Christian. Either way, I was geeking out on the craftsmanship and all the things that he made, not what the bike was, because I like the things that make the bike.
Yeah.
Rudy Jimenez, I believe, guy out of Georgetown. He's a photographer. Has done a bunch of work relative to some things I've done in the past couple of years with Crystal and stuff. He comes up with that new freaking Samsung, and Christian is standing on the other side of his bike. The bike is on a pedestal, like your typical pallet type pedestal. Yeah. Rudy is standing 2.5 or 3 foot away from the whole bike. And he has the pedestal, platform, front and rear tire, and Christian standing behind him in the full frame.
Damn.
With this Samsung.
And not distorted or anything?
Not distorted at all, and it's stupid fucking clear. And it looks flat as can be. It's amazing, dude.
You brought up Hand Built. I didn't go this year, but from what I looked at it, like that has potential. Just not necessarily Hand Built itself, but the entire Austin area for that weekend of Hand Built with MotoGP, and they did the flat track racing and all that shit. Like it could be so much bigger than that going forward.
It already is.
Yeah.
It's huge already, dude. So we debuted the 2 Indians for motorcycle missions. We had Hand Built, we had MotoGP, and we had a charity ride, which was John Paul DeJoria's birthday.
Yeah, what's his name? Isn't that Jesse James,
father-in-law,
chick's wife, husband, whatever, father?
So Jesse James is his own self.
Yeah,
his wife Alexis DeJoria is John Paul DeJoria's.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
I follow all of them.
Okay, and he's, for anybody who doesn't know him, is one of the founders of Paul Mitchell Hair Systems. They used to own Patrona. I don't know if they still own Patrona or if they sold it out to Bacardi or if they partnered with them or whatever, but I think Bacardi has a financial interest or something in Patrona at this point. But yeah, it's a very busy weekend, man. There's a lot going on. And there's always like 2 or 3 other things going on at the same time that weekend.
Yeah.
I ran into Rusty down there. He was walking out with his daughter and one of her friends.
Yeah, I just thought it would be kind of cool to piggyback off of that with so much motorcycle down there to bring some other cultures into it.
I wouldn't touch it.
Well, I'm not gonna do shit. I'm just saying, like, you get that many guys together, that many people that are interested in motorcycles, you make it a real fucking event. Yeah. Like, not that it isn't now, but I mean, Hand Built caters to a community.
Hand Built's overwhelming, man. There's a lot going on. I mean, they had the freaking races and stuff down there too. Roland had all the hooligans down there doing their rides. Dan was over there doing his thing, freaking running over barricades and freaking trying to kill people.
You would think he's like really good at it.
He's pretty good, dude. The dude freaking, for a guy that just started racing, Dan's kind of fearless too, man.
That's what I heard, yeah.
You know that if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough song?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Dan, dude. Yeah. And I'm not saying Dan's dumb because he's a real intelligent son of a bitch, man. Yeah. But he's freaking on it, man. He's racing his ass off,
too, man. Like, he's all the traveling he's getting to do. Like, I'm so fucking jealous of it right now. I just want to be out there doing it too. But he earned it, man. He's built his podcast. He's built his listeners. He's built that whole platform of his to be able to go out there, and he's bringing them such great content. You know what I mean? So it's inspiring to me. Wanting to get to that level of being able to travel like he does, and bring in all these different people in person, and not. You remember he went through a phase where he had like a shit ton of phone interviews.
Yes.
And now he's just, he did that part. And now he's there. He's riding across country. He's got the story of the trip, the conversations from the individuals on the trip, and the story home. He's just, it's just a big fucking content fucking ball right now.
What other podcast do you listen to?
Honestly, man, I go through phases, man. Like I was telling a friend of mine the other day, like some of my friends, like when we go to bike night, they'll be like, dude, I'm so sick of hearing your voice right now. Because they'll listen to like podcasts we did, and then we'll party all night. It's like, dude, I just don't want to hear you right now.
Can you not talk?
Yeah. So I kind of do the same thing, man. Like I'll go through a period where I won't listen to Danger Dan for like a month, right? And then I'll binge listen to it like over the course of a couple of days. Same thing with like Joe Rogan, and I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. But the thing is, like, I go through phases in what I want from a podcast. You know, like 1 minute I'll be listening to a podcast where I really want to, like, I listened to the Graham Hancock one that Joe Rogan just did recently, and they were talking about ancient civilizations and Mayans and all this shit. I was like, fuck, dude, this is interesting.
I'm super into that. As a matter of fact, I capitalized on that back in 2011 because I knew the world was coming to an end.
Oh, man. How'd that investment go?
Well, the business that I was a part of made millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah, the bomb shelter thing?
Yeah. Everybody's going to die. You got to have somewhere to put yourself before you die.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I get into that stuff, but then, you know, and then, like, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, I did that quite a bit, but his stuff I like to listen to, like, on road trips. Like, I'm driving to Cali, so put on one episode, it's 6 hours, another one 6 hours, next thing you know, you're fucking, you know, halfway across the country, but it's hard, man. There's so many different ones out there.
I've got a couple of adventure bike podcasts I listen to.
I love listening to anybody that's doing a trip. I guess I could do more research and find out some of the adventure bike podcasts where they're talking about people's experiences on the road more, like out of the country.
There's 2 or 3 really good ones.
For real?
Yeah, we have a friend of ours. So there's a motorcycle show in Denton called the Denton Independent Motorcycle Show. DIMS or Denton IMS.
Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Really close friend of mine and a friend of his who's a really good friend of mine too. So Sean Ziegler and Casey Close put on that show. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of it last year, but it's held in the art museum in Denton. Mm-hmm. And so we have a photographer friend of ours, Scott Brown, who's in the group. I have this little, so they have the pallets for their bike show.
Yeah.
And I'm storing them in my shop. And so we had this group message about who was going to come help move all these things. And I was too busy. And the day that they were bringing them in, I was drawing on the computer knife blanks for Nick Huff.
Yeah.
So that he could streamline some knives and stuff like that. And so we had this text message chain called Sweet Brent the Pallet Jackers. Because Sweet Brent, it's because Brent said something about being sweet, but like Sweet Johnny, the little Dr. Pepper dude. Anyway,
the small rocker dude.
Yeah, I relevated somehow Brent to be Sweet Brent. He works for JMP Cycles, but Scott Brown's part of that group. He does like overseas adventure bike riding, and he invited us to a trip to Mexico this year.
Nice.
He just came back from Peru. And I'm like, yeah, I want that in my life. I really do. I have a project that I hadn't started on yet. Is already working in theory. I have a couple of key people interested to be involved in it. I have a show organizer who has done national shows that travel. Mm-hmm. I have an event that I want to plan for the Trans-America Trail that starts in Portland and ends up in Virginia or wherever the hell the trail technically ends. But it'll be a 30-day event.
Like crazy.
So it's technically a 4-weekend event.
Yeah.
But it's a month-long ride. And so you can pay to be a part of this entire ride. And that shit's expensive.
Yeah.
Or you can come around for a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
And depending on what level you buy in at and what you pay at, depends on what level of support and all these things. And then I'll use the rental bike industry for the off-road communities across that trail platform to be a part of it so that I can rely on them for rentals, them for logistics, and them for maintenance and service of these bikes as we travel over the course of 30 days. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it doesn't include completely, but part of it does. Runs through Utah and all that stuff. But man, the Utah BDR that's backcountry discovery route for all you that don't know anything about adventure riding. The Utah BDR is probably the most beautiful riding in the United States. You talked before about wanting to go overseas and do all these amazing rides and all these things and how great that would be. Do a little research on the Utah BDR, and everybody right now listening, like, go just pause or just go Google Utah BDR and start looking at pictures while you're listening to the rest of this. You'd be pretty amazed at what there is.
I've looked pretty heavy into the Trans-American Trail for the last like 2 years now, and it's
like 4,022 miles.
It's not like when I guess, and I want to say I've corrected myself, or corrected this before, but it's not the off-road that I'm interested in. It's just this is the road that we have to ride down that I'm interested in.
How about this? So you like to travel. And you know, when you're traveling on the highways and you like drive by some really bitchin' looking mountains or rock feature or whatever, and you're like,
yeah, I think there's something out there that'll kill me.
Dude, that's really cool looking, right? Like, that's so cool. Yeah, well, let's just do that, but let's ride our motorcycles through it.
Yeah.
And that's what the Trans-American Trail allows you to do. And there's a large volume of information as far as maps and stuff like that that you can get, that you can download on your phone, download on any of your navigation devices, or get hard copies of and take with you in order to traverse these routes. And there's specific regions of them that are certain skill level too.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you're not really highly skilled and you're just not looking to fuck off a whole bunch of time, then you shouldn't go that way. But you can take, I know, I mean, Dan, the interesting thing was too, is that I got to a point conversationally with a friend of mine. A friend of mine recently became employed by we'll call them a event sponsor farm. So they're an agency for event sponsors, big ones. And one of the things that they have in their bunkhouse is they're looking for outdoor motorsports type things. And he says, dude, you're my guy. I need you to find something for me. I was like, for 4 years now, I've been thinking about this. And I was like, I think this is the thing I need to finally start focusing on. Can we plan on this 2 years from now? I want to do this the year after my daughter graduates from high school. But the year before she graduates, I'm going to do the trip. Yeah. And I'm going to flush it out. We're already planning logistics and communicating with companies and stuff like that right now, and who's going to be involved, in what regions, how are they going to be involved, what kind of cost is expected. I'm going to literally have to work on planning this project for almost 3 years before it happens. It's that big. But it's not something where I expect 1,000 people to come with us or whatever, but it's going to be something to where I can create, it's an already existing pathway in our great nation. Yeah. And I'm going to find a way to create an event where, like, we show up on Thursday. That'll be the meet and greet and riders meeting, all those kind of things, safety meeting. And then that's kind of the kickoff event. So major sponsors, vendors, all those kind of people, they'll be hanging out, they'll be there. And then we'll have the rental guys will be there. They'll pick up, they'll do their thing. Guys that have their own bike, they'll unload, they'll stage. We will travel at that point for Friday with a minor event. Now, mind you, it always includes, when you're a part of this, where I'm thinking, breakfast. I'm going to try to find a food company to get involved that will be supporting us for like snacks and stuff throughout the day. So health food, snack food type companies. I have friends that work like in Nestle and stuff like that. So I think I can reach out to them. And then, we have the dinner event. So Saturday is always going to be a larger event each Saturday as we travel across the United States. So each Saturday, that'll be local food, local entertainment. Vendors will be set up. Everybody will be able to pull in and service their bikes, all those kind of things. Sunday is a ride out. So we'll do a 3-day event, which will technically be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday ride, small event for the local people. That'll be a Thursday night sign in, and then a Friday, Saturday, Sunday ride. And then they return their bikes and stuff on Sunday, get transported back, those kind of things. Or if you're long haulers, you can pay for a 1 week event or a 2-week event or a 3-week event or a 4-week event.
Is doesn't that trail go through like some major cities or some decent sized cities?
There's gas stop every 150 miles at least.
For real?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
There's always somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And the big part of that too is wanting to encourage, I mean, a lot of the bigger highways and a lot of the technology is taken away from some of these smaller communities, their ability to support themselves. And so the backcountry discovery routes being established the way that they are, and the Trans-America Trail and people's interest in it and what that means, has encouraged people to spend money in these small towns on the hotels, the food, the gas, all those things. And it's taken those really small towns that are part of the Wild West that barely exist with a bunch of tumbleweeds in them and are bringing money back into them to help support those little communities. And outlanding, those kind of things, which is same thing as, you know, adventure bike riding and all that kind of stuff, is super popular.
Dude, have you been through a Moab lately?
I haven't been through Moab in over 15 years, man.
Dude, that town is like new.
Is it?
Yeah.
I say 15 years, so
it looks healthy when you drive through it. Like you lost calories as you drove through it, which I think technically, scientifically you do, but you know.
Man, it's been since 99 that I've been out there. I used to work for an off-road shop a long time ago, and we used to build Jeeps, so we'd go out there.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that place looks fun as hell. I just passed through it last year, but I was like, God damn, this town looks brand new. Concrete's white.
Yep, concrete's white.
No holes.
It's real new when the concrete's green. Yeah. No, I think that I'm really interested in what I can do to encourage people to explore more inside the United States.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do too with the camp out stuff. I mean, to give people a reason to leave their cities that they're comfortable riding in and try their luck, or not their luck, but just their ability or their interest in traveling on their bike, even if it is just maybe one state over or 100 miles or 500 miles or whatever. But creating those friendships, I think creating those friendships that you make doing these trips is the one thing that a lot of us men are like, I'm not fucking, that's fucking gay. You know what I mean?
No,
but the truth is, like,
community building.
It really is, man. Like, next thing you know, you have these people that you're stoked to hang out with because of so much common interest and respect that you get from doing that kind of riding. It's just like it's own little subcult of motorcycling that I think so.
Yeah, that's humanity is what that is.
It's tribalism.
You are banned.
All you riding motherfuckers.
Well, I mean, I believe in community building. I think it's super valuable. I have a community building exercise that I'm going to be doing this fall. I actually have, I think I have a lot of insight for a lot of stuff, depending on how we talk about it and what we're talking about. So I called the principal of the high school that I went to when I was a kid a couple weeks ago, actually about a month ago, and I had a conversation with her. Not the same woman, by the way, but I have a speaking engagement before the high school on August 15th. So right when I get back from Sturgis.
You good at that?
Speaking?
Yeah, in front of a crowd like that?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
I thought I was too. I did our buddy Marcus. You know Marcus, right?
Yeah.
So he asked me to come to his college and talk, and I was like sweating.
No, I don't have a problem with it at all.
It was tough.
I was a master debater in high school.
Master debater.
Yeah, and that's true because I won first place state oral interpretation speak debate. It's
weird because when I had my bike club, that was a pretty decent sized people, and in different times I found myself talking amongst like a group of people that are here because they want to be, but like I always think about school. I'm like, these motherfuckers don't give a shit about what I'm saying. Like, they have no interest, or not all of them do. Like, you could look out to them while you're talking and tell the ones that care and don't.
I'm not going to even let them sit in the stadium seats. I'm going to make them come to the basketball floor, actually, when I speak to them. All of them. No, it's going to eventually end up that way. But it's back to the community building thing. So I'm going to be speaking at an alternative school.
You're gonna get the ones that are pregnant and shit.
Well, that's where I was that's where I went to high school. At towards the end, I mean, I was a great scholar. I was a bad student.
You just didn't learn the right way.
I was bored, big time. And even when I got my work done ahead of time, I still got in trouble for it. Or if I did it a way that was collegiate instead of high school, I got my ass chewed for it, especially in math. As everybody knows, I got math. Yeah. The thing is that it has to do with a lot of these kids and the fact that they feel isolated. And they feel alone. They don't feel like they have somebody that's on their team. They don't feel like they have somebody with common interests, common goals, those kind of things. And the very first thing I'm going to do, and I get to find out how many students there are first, because I'm going to have this many of these things on my person when I show up.
Yeah.
I'm going to get stickers. And I'm going to have probably about 10 helpers. So, like the old school bread stickers, they're like orange, green, yellow dots, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to just get roll of 5,000 or whatever from freaking Amazon. I'm sure I can get it for like $10, like 10 different colors.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have all these little subgroups. How many people here feel alone? That'll be the first one. And then all those people, if they want to take one, are going to get one. How many people here like A, B, C, and I'm going to break this down in a couple different categories. I'm still trying to strategize specifically how I do this. But it's going to basically take that alone feeling away from them and show them how many people, based on how many colors that you're all sharing, have similar interest.
Yeah.
To know that you can rely on the people that are around you in order to create a support network or a common interest bond that will allow you to create growth within yourself and the people around you. Because not only in motorcycling and fabrication, conversation, or child development, or any of that thing, it's literally community.
Yeah.
In all the communities that are out there, I think that looking at what the common denominator is between the people around you and finding a way to utilize that for mutual benefit is very important. There's nothing selfish about it.
Yeah.
I think that it's very important to do it because without that, there's no growth within the community. And without the growth of a community, there's no established community. Without an established community, there's no society. Without society, we have nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's real important that we strengthen the communities around us, regardless of what they surround themselves with, because that's how you sustain business. That's how you sustain relationships and all those things that are really relative to our ability to exist. I think that we need to really focus in on what kids are doing too, in order to create a little bit of future for themselves. Because here I am, I'm a 42-year-old GED toting convicted felon that went to prison. Building a concept car for Toyota. I've never been to college.
Yeah.
I have no degrees. I'm self-taught in about everything that I do. And I've done drugs. I have 2 kids that are 16 and 22. I relate to those kids a lot, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I've been to that school. I was kicked out of my high school because I was just really not. School was not my thing. I'm not a warehouse worker.
Yeah.
School was founded on the principle of warehouse workers.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys show up from 8 to 5. You take a break in the middle of the day. You do what we say. We're going to teach you how to write. We're going to teach you how to read. And we're going to teach you how to freaking understand colors and instruction, because that means you can take orders, write orders, fill orders, eat your lunch, stay alive, go home, come back. And then it became privatized and there was profitability in it. And they said, oh, well, we need to institute science and biology and shit. It's like, we can make more money doing this. You guys are stupid. Ha ha ha.
So what all do you like other than these things? Hell, you got a pretty stacked plate as it is. Are you still trying to do Sturgis or any of the bike events this year? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to Sturgis this year. As a matter of fact, that FXR that I just got, I think I'm going to be building that for Sturgis this year.
That'd be cool.
And then I just picked up that Indian from Music City Indian. Cam over there is an amazing guy. A member of Peace, Love, Happiness group. He's also a hamster. Got to know him a little bit more when I flew out there this week. learn his story, how he started in the industry, why he does what he does, kind of thing. Super neat dude. His wife's super cool too, Chloe. She's an esthetician. Totally relate because I have 2 exes for 19 years where I was in the salon industry, so I understand everything she says.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be developing a couple of parts. I have 3 parts in stone. I have 1 part almost in stone for the Indian touring market right now.
Yeah.
And he saw it as opportunity to help create more parts for the market because the Indian market is the touring Indian market is becoming more interesting to people, and there's more interest in it. The more parts that are available, the better off they have the opportunity to projecting it more into Harley Davidson platform when it comes to the parts market's heavy. You can customize it. And with Crystal having just been a part of 1 primary build and assisting, very, very, very minor on the second build, just some finishing touches to help get that thing along. It's really hard to customize an Indian because there's nothing for it.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I've got trees with Harley Davidson risers on it because we machined Harley risers in it in order to do it. And everything else pretty much handmade. I mean, we narrowed the tank 2 inches, 2 inches because they're wide as shit.
Yeah, those adventure tanks.
Yeah, and they're still not that big, man. That one I just rode back, it's only a 4-gallon tank.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's really flat.
Yeah,
it's just wide. You know those 2 dudes from the Guinness Book World Records with the really big asses that ride the mini bikes? The twins. There were twins.
I don't remember that.
Somebody out there listening understands this. So there were these 2 twins that ride like pit 50s, and they were like these huge fat twins. Dude, their legs were as big as my torso. Damn. And they were riding these little pit 50s. Anyway, that's what the gas tanks look like.
I think with the, this is a statement I think that I formulated at the camp out during a drunken performance bagger conversation that we had on live.
Very serious conversation then.
So no, I think that when it comes to Indian, they built something badass with the FTR that wasn't really available on the market, and then and of course the internet went crazy. Everybody wanted one. Everybody's trying to get one. Everybody's waiting on one, and then they released these new, what do you call the Street Glide Indian, if you will, the Battle Donkey. What's Battle Horse? The Battle Donkey's Justin's bike.
Yeah, Battle Donkey's Justin's bike.
Yeah. So
they have the Chieftain.
Yeah.
They have the Chief. They have the Springfield, and then they're coming out with a Road Glide killer.
I'll put my money on no, they don't.
No, I mean that's what they're referring to it as.
So this was my take. All right, so build something that we don't already have. A touring bike can be a lot of things, and I think that the problem is with everybody. Harley set the standard, and everybody's trying to do a version of what's already on the market instead of just almost like hiring someone like you before you got into motorcycles. And one of the first bikes you build is Element 13, something that we've just out of the box, like fresh ideas, as opposed to like say get some dude from Audi or some shit like that. Hey, we need to make a bike. We don't want you to look at anything that Harley does. We just want you to we need to block the wind. We need to have these kind of amenities in some type of fairing system.
Then you end up with a Yamaha.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not a road glide. It's not a street glide. It might be, just a different, just something, make something that we don't already fucking have, man.
Correct. And I mean, when you look at the basic necessity of a street glide fairing, it has to cover the headlight. It has to cover the hands. It deflects air away from the rider. So it's triangle, period. How do you make a triangle fancy? So design. Okay, so design is this. You got to take everything that exists and reduce it down to its most basic necessity and basic form.
Yeah.
So I learned this from a super, super talented freaking world-renowned furniture designer. When he's trying to design something, it's what are its basic necessities based on contact points, and then what can you do to look at the simple math that exists between those points, and then what do you do to make it nice? Sometimes you leave it alone. Sometimes you add to it. And that abstract thought is as close as you get as to the purest form of the necessity of the part. And then you work on it from there. So, I mean, dude, it's a fucking triangle. What else are you going to do?
Well, okay, say, even though this is probably not the best reference in the world, but, you know, an FXR fairing doesn't look like a Road Glide fairing. You know? Why not? I mean, you could still make something that's a rectangle or a triangle, but you just got to be... You like, I get it. You're trying to make something that appeals to a market that's already there, but then you wonder why it's always second best. You know, regardless of how much more horsepower these bikes come with, how much more, you know,
that 111's freaking awesome.
You're getting all these CVO qualities on a base model Indian, but it's still just not the same.
Some I will tell you though, that I've heard somebody else say that I say now too, because I believe it for what was said. So the difference between this person asked somebody, well, what do you think the difference is between an Indian and a Harley? Well, when you look at a Harley, you're looking at something that was built. When you look at an Indian, you're looking at something that was engineered. And I can tell, having them apart, both plenty, there's a lot of extra thought that's going into the Indian to make it a motorcycle than Harley. And that has a lot to do with the newer technology, the newer platform, all the things they're doing to try to put stuff out. They're only 6 years out now. 2013. It was the relaunch Indian motorcycle, because our semi was parked catty corner to a parking lot where they did the release with Mike Wolf and Frank. And the momentum that they've had in 6 years has been fairly significant. There's been some great growth. Polaris as a whole owns way more than just Polaris and freaking Indian. And there's just something to be said about their financial ability to carry themselves with the Scholastic contracts they have, with the government contracts they have, with the razors and stuff like that. The UTV, ATV market is the one thing that definitely keeps them alive.
Yeah.
So I think there's something that will happen over the next 2 to 3 years for Indian touring market that allows them to take a smaller percentage, but a larger percentage for them, of the Harley market away. Because it's just another bike for somebody to buy, and it's not exactly the same Harley that they've seen forever. Because even our new Harleys still look like the same bike that was made in freaking 88.
Yeah, and I think that's
a testament to style, and people go, we like that. That's like looking at all the 88 to 98 Chevy pickups, and that's the only pickup Chevy ever made still, and they just changed the headlights for the next 10 years. Or 50 years, you know what I mean? So and I love those trucks. But
that's a good analogy, though.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. So we're looking at 1988 to 2018. Yeah. Okay, that's 30 fucking years, man, that saddlebags have looked the exact same way. With very, very minor changes.
I think that maybe one thing that would be interesting to see is, with real pressure from Indian, what it corners Harley to do, if they do anything.
I'll let you know right now that the freaking Indian touring platform, Harleys handle amazing too. Yeah. A stock one. Don't fuck with it. Just go ride it. But the stock Indian, dude, it handles so freaking nice. It needs a handlebar change bad.
And that's one thing I noticed about some of the bikes, is their handlebars are fucking ridiculous. It's I'm 2 feet under the fairings.
I do not want a dog on Indian. I freaking sport an Indian shirt right now just because I'm Indian proud, because I rode one back. But the bike that I rode back is Chief Dark Horse. The handlebars are like beach cruiser type handlebars. Yeah. They're real low, which is weird. So they come out of the nacelle real low, backwards over the gas tank, and sweep out, and they have this funky angle. I'm real tall. I'm 6'7". My elbows are near the same plane as my chest. Yeah. So for me, that's not good. That's not good for anybody in a riding position because your leverage is your elbows are against your chest. And so what that causes you to do is it causes you to have to pick your elbows up, which creates more wind problem. And then cat's a slinky. And then the seat position for me, because I'm so tall, is too far forward. There's a lot of fender behind me. It's got that little bucket freaking bobber seat, you know? And it that steep rise in the back, there's some hard shit back there because I was against it the whole time.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine, grab something about 90-degree elbow bend and pull it towards you for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then your feet have nowhere to go. So there's no cruiser bar, there's no passenger pegs, nothing on the Chief Dark Horse. So it was a marginally uncomfortable ride, but the bike handles so freaking awesome, dude. All you gotta, for any of you guys that don't know how to freaking corner,
ride Indian.
point your chin. Point your chin, look where you're going, you know, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Real simple, man. Those bikes do anything you want them to fucking do, man. I've freaking cornered that bike that I came back with in the rain harder than almost any other bike I've ever rode.
I'm really excited to see what happens when the FTR hits the market and
they just started shipping.
And we start seeing, you know, companies that we know of starting to put products out there on the market for them to see where that motorcycle goes. Because, I mean, the Softails are starting to take shape. I mean, it's been over 2 years now, and they're really starting to create their identity. You know, everybody did the let's make it look like a Dyna for a while, and it's still kind of popular, but
and it's a good look for those bikes.
It's starting to kind of turn, like, people are getting kind of innovative on these things.
Right.
Dude, I got a homie that just traded in a CVO for a Fat Bob. His Gunship Gray, whatever the fuck that color's called. Battleship Gray CVO to get a Fat Bob, and he's riding that bitch across country with us in a month. Like, that shit's cool to me.
What's funny about that Battleship Gray craze is that we did a car in 2012 that was Battleship Gray. Mm-hmm. It was a little before its time, I think. But it was still a popular color. Battleship Gray in the automotive industry has been around for a while.
A lot of cars have had that. Audi, Dodge, all that shit. So.
But it's a good color, but man, it got played out pretty quick. It's still a clean look, but the FTRs, that one thing that the FTR is going to suffer from. So Harley wins because Harley doesn't do it well enough, so the parts market picks up the slack.
Yeah.
That creates a cooler bike because the diversity in aftermarket parts allows you the uniqueness between each other's bikes, even if you have some of the same parts between each bike. The FTR is a modular platform. They literally have 3 or 4 different styles of what you can configure this bike, and they have a bunch of built-in accessories that are already really well engineered that look freaking amazing, that fit so very well. The taillight options, the gauge options, the handlebar options, suspension options, all those things. Mm-hmm. They're really nice bikes, man. And they're really affordable.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Stupid affordable. I mean, for an expensive-ish bike.
Yeah, for the kind of products that come with the bike and the technology, it's like
I don't think you can package any of them over $20,000.
No, yeah, exactly. So I mean, fuck.
And I think when I say that, I think they're really like 17.
Yeah.
Packaged out.
Yeah, packaged out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's going to be an interesting market for a while.
It'll be fun because I think that FTR, if it's done well and done right, the FTR market stands to take a chunk off of freaking Sportsters.
I think it'll hit the dyno market a little bit. I really think it's going to be a test if it can get that look. I mean, dude, a lot of people don't like to agree to this, but a lot of motorcycling is based on looks. Even this performance craze that's going on, it's still about the fucking look.
Yeah.
Not everybody can corner, not everybody can wheelie, and not everybody can do this shit, but the bike looks sick. I want a sick looking bike. I'm into that. I can't do it, but that's what I want, right? It's a look, man. So if a look gets created off that bike, fucking cat's going wild now. If the look goes you know, if it gets the look, then I think that it'll take off. And that's the same thing to say about any of the other Indians, the touring models and stuff. It's just that the looks, man. Like Harley's got all the looks, and you hit the nail on the head when you said that they don't overbuild the bike, so it leaves so much for interpretation from builders like yourself and many others. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and with the Indians too, especially a touring platform, they suffer a little bit from. They have this large waist area. Mm-hmm. So the area beneath the seat, behind the engine, in front of the rear, well, it houses the rear suspension. Mm-hmm. The whole midsection of the frame is just so bulky.
Yeah.
And there's all these covers that have to cover it all up. When it's done as the bike is assembled and manufactured, it's sleek, it's stylish, it's Art Deco-ish, whatever. It just all flows and shit. But when you start taking all that stuff off, it looks the same underneath all them skins. You can't make it go away. The two bikes that we just got done doing, man, I did a couple of cosmetic pieces to hide some holes visually from the side. Mm-hmm. There are some really simple filler panels, and even like stuff like where the swing arm bolt was. Well, there's a passenger peg mount right there next to it. So literally I created this little, it looks like a raindrop. Like there's a bolt that holds on the top tip of the raindrop. It's just a circle, and it gets bigger and it's round enough and extends down to just shield that freaking
massive
nickel ass huge swing arm bolt. Mm-hmm. So when you look at it from the side and the bolt's black and that cover's black and the side cover's black and they're all powder coated the same color and you're looking at it, it goes away.
Yeah.
It's just a visual cosmetic type thing, but it's just so bulky. One of the parts that I'm looking to create, so bike I did was, everybody calls it a bobber. I don't give a shit what you call it, but is a new tail section for those bikes.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So I've already drew it up in the computer. I've got machine shop right now.
I wish they dropped that fucking fender thing. The classic look. It's not classic.
They did in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have a front fender now that looks more like just a chiseled FL fender. Nice. So it's blocky. You know, like the Scout's got some nice sharp lines on it.
Yeah.
The front fender looks like that.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. That's that. What's the Street Glide version look like? What's it called?
Chieftain.
The Chieftain. The new one, the angles are clean. I like the angles on that front fairing. But
you mean the one that looks just like Street Glide almost?
It does look like, but the angles are nice. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what really throws me off is the handlebars being a foot and a half underneath the fairing.
Yes.
So it's like it's some kind of weird contraption. I just like that fucking handlebar above the triple trees kind of vibe kind of thing going on. So
yeah, I'd already developed handlebars for the Indian market.
Mm-hmm. You ain't putting T-bars on any of those things. So you ain't putting T-bars on those fucking Indians. So you know what I mean? Like
no, you could if you want.
I don't see the T-bar. There would be so much leverage coming back to clear the fairing.
Well, on the fairing models, no, but on the
on the other
Chief,
ones you could.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like I have to figure out whether or not I'm going to be able to pull it off, how much money it's going to cost, if it's viable, how many are we going to sell, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They have a really nice looking headlight piece. The factory headlight piece for the Chief.
Yeah.
It's got a nice little scallop on the top. It's got a sharp, flat edge on it. I mean, just like really nice cosmetic. It covers the trees really well. It's a sculpted piece. It's super well made. And it's like, it's all cast. So it's super cool looking. Trying to finish up a concept where you have a template. It shows you how to cut out the top of that. There's two bolts that hold the two halves together at the top, and there's two bolts on the side, kind of just like Street Glide, Road Glide, all that kind of stuff, right? So you end up cutting out part of the top. There's a new trim panel that goes on top, but there's another trim panel that comes in from the inside. So the inside piece bolts the two halves together, and it fills the factory handlebar holes. And they're completely flush, and all you see is the witness circle, oval. It's all, I 3D printed a version of it, so I just got this bike, and I'm going to model it together and see if it all fits. So it fills the holes. But then it allows me to freaking take T-bars right out of the top of the freaking nacelle. So cosmetically, it's all trimmed out and it looks nice.
Yeah. Almost like it'd be nice to ride one of those bikes like with the kind of setups that we're, you know I'm more accustomed to now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I have mid controls for those bikes also that I need to finish fleshing out. Really nice machine piece, goes over parts of the engine and stuff like that, keeps your feet in a nice place. And then for the Chief model specifically, I have what I'm going to call a rear rider peg that I'll sell, that I won't sell a bunch of, and it's more for me.
Yeah.
But like, I like to ride with my feet on the back pegs when I'm going distance, especially on a bike with no windshield, no fairing or anything. Like the Dynot, the riding position for me when I'm on the highway at speed, I mean, I run my foot's on the primary half the time too. One peg on the, like my left foot's on the primary, my right foot's on the back peg. And I do that too because I can freaking turn real quick and I can look back hard when I'm freaking in traffic. But if I'm in final gear, man, I'm on the back pegs almost all the time. And the wind is floating my body and I don't have a lot of weight on the handlebars. And that's fine with me. So I need a rear rider peg for that, just as like a distance type thing. And then I don't want to do something gay. I have a really cool rock guard for it that I already did. Like whatever the hell you're going to call those things, like a mud plate, skid plate, front plate type thing. I did one that flows in real nice and matches the angle of the fork tubes. It's got a couple of facets on it, and I'll offer that with like louvers or dimple dies or solid or whatever.
Yeah, louvers are hot right now.
A couple variations. I mean, I'm trying to make it like a special rare model with only like 2 louvers. It'd be like a blim.
A blim.
Yeah, we got a special 2 louver side cover.
Well, shit, man, we're at a minute here. So, what's anything else coming up quick? I mean, we'll start wrapping this thing up. We got summer's like weeks away, so it's gonna be June. Summer
is here,
and then July, and then Sturgis, and then.
I'm really contemplating on what to do with the FXR I just got. I like the Dynot a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely leaving that bike, freaking real simple on the wheels. 18 or 17 rear, probably 17 rear, 19 front. Nothing fancy. Not doing any body work on it. Exposed headlight, short handlebars. The frame is so small, dude. I'm so big.
Yeah.
Like, I can take my feet and wrap them around the front wheel. So I'm considering on the frame, and it may come into really just a seat a lot for me. Because I had that factory 2-up seat, which really puts the rider position forward quite a bit, I think. And I think I can move that back probably like 2 inches. So I'm just going to take the seat off and then go sit back on the bike and see how I feel on it. Maybe with some towels under my ass just to get my ass back. And if I feel comfortable with that, I may not do any stretch in the frame. But I literally thought about stretching the front end of the bike a little bit.
You can stretch the rear of the bike pretty simply.
I just don't want to change that triangle.
Well, no, I'm talking like the frame rails and the swing arm.
Yeah, I know.
So if you take the top off and just move the rear fender back some,
Yep.
a little bit extended swing arm, you can get a lot more seat out of it.
Definitely going that route with it. But, man, paint on this thing, I'm going to do real simple. It's just going to be, I'm thinking about doing, I say real simple, fuck me. I'm doing, it'll be black, cream, and gold.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it'll be like black, it'll be like gold filigree and shit. Like, it'll look like an engraved pistol kind of stuff. So I'm kind of going that route with it. And then I'm a retard on metal finishes, just like the Dynot's got antique brass wheels, which I still don't get enough play on that bike. It's in Cycle Source this month. But nobody's ever done antique brass wheels on fucking anything on the face of the earth. I've never found it. Yeah. And there's so many people look at it and are like, dude, the wheels are fucked up. And I was like, I know it's so pretty, but I'm really thinking about doing antique brass on the FXR also, but this time, like normal FXRs, normal antique brass, you polish it, plate it, you dip it in this chemical, it oxidizes like a son of a bitch, and you're supposed to wash it off, and then the atmosphere does its job, and then you scuff it back, you know, and it gives it that weathered, brushed look. And so I think I'm going to do that on all the parts on this bike. So I'm actually selling everything off of this bike right now. I'm going to post it this week. It's 99 FXR3. The whole paint set's going. I'm selling the side covers, front and rear fender, tank, all together. With the fucking dash and gauges.
Nice.
That way somebody's got a whole FXR3 paint set, side covers, everything if they want them.
Is it a factory paint set?
Yep. They only did 450 of them that year.
That's cool.
In the green, to my knowledge, my best knowledge. And so there's somebody out there that's really a fan of that.
Yeah.
That wants it.
Trust me, there it is.
And I think I could probably sell dash, which the chrome is still factory amazing on it. That's also, they did like 30 parts of freaking Harley Davidson accessory chrome on that bike. So it's got the chrome swing arm, all that shit, the chrome belt guard. I don't want any of that. So I'm selling the chrome swing arm. I'm selling the freaking belt guard. I'm selling the paint set.
All you FXR nerds, hit up Moos if you need some R3 shit.
Because I got all that R3 shit you can have. I'm going to sell the whole handlebar, hand controls, everything whole.
Yeah. It's got the new updated controls on that stuff.
It does have the nicer, newer controls, man. The ones that people actually pay some money for. But I'm selling grip to tip, man. Freaking everything from the triple trees up. And it also has chrome single brake lowers on it. And so I want to get rid of those. Because I'd rather run dual brake front. Yeah. I'm not in that single brake performance.
I'm not anymore, so I'm over it. That was 18 J's.
Getting rid of all the freaking 90s shit off of it, man, because I don't want any of that. I bought it because it's a 9,700 mile freaking Evo.
Yeah.
In an FXR frame. I'm good. I got some performance that I'll do to it that's very minor, but I'll buy some engine covers. I'll plate them. I'll find a stock paint set. I'll paint it. I'm probably going to go ahead and build a custom dash for it, modify it, find a cool headlight, do some tracker bars, mount them straight to the fucking triple trees just like I did my other bike because I'm literally tall enough to sit on the back fender and reach the handlebars. That's hot for me if I can do that for Sturgis this year. I'm trying to do that. I got to see about Justin Kelly was trying to finish up a bike, and I was trying to get him to freaking ride with me to Sturgis this year. Hooked him up with a belt drive because I had a coupon for one. Yeah. Totally don't.
He got a nice dyno recently.
He did, man. He's trying to step up that modern day game.
Yeah, I'm excited for him though.
I am too. The dude that I traded that FXR for, so we got that 91 FXRP that we're going to sell. And I freaking started looking at comp prices for what my 06 dyno was going to sell for. And I had, what are the seat companies' name out there? Why saying sports me what the fuck it is. Whatever. Has Saddleman seat on it, Legend suspension front and rear, coil packs, handlebars, pegs, lay down license plate that I bolted straight to the fender hard as shit. Tail light, deleted all the turn signals, nothing fancy, grips. Yeah. Anyway, so this kid's like, can you give me some money on top of my bike? Because the Cowboy's going to give me $7,000 for this bike. And I'm like, cool, my bike books for $6,000. It's got 12,000 miles on it. And it's got $5,000 worth of shit on it retail. Yeah. So no, you could just give me your bike and I'll give you mine and we're good. And so I said, what do you want to trade anyway? And it's like, man, I just want a fuel injection and a bigger motor.
Well, he got that.
I was like, and that's what you want? I was like, dude, I got the Dynabro starter package Dyna right now, minus T-bars. Throw T-bars on this bitch, change out the headlight, done. Good. Don't ever fuck with it again. You know, and so I was happy. But no, building the FXR, if I got time for it, Parts development is more important to me. Business is more important to me. Buying my daughter a car is hot on the fucking to-do list right now.
Yeah.
Before school starts.
Damn.
That way I don't have to come back from Sturgis sooner. But Sturgis is a big necessity for me, obviously, man. And I've got some real hot shit for Toyota right now. Like I've got a couple potential meetings that are something fairly significant that is worldwide shit. So
that's good.
I'm looking at some of that potential right now, and
you need to start.
Really focus on it.
You need to start getting you a what do you call them? Apprentices. Get you some people out there.
Some of the things that I'm looking at doing right now, so even though I've only been at the location I'm in now for a year on a 2-year lease, I just asked them what it would cost me to get out of my lease and the property manager and I are really great together. Might potentially be moving my shop to McKinney to be in-house to the company that feeds me all the Toyota work.
Yeah.
Because he needs somebody that can run his shop as a manager. And so we're going to talk a little further about what that means, but I might be considering some conversation as to what it means to become his shop manager, but also lease space from him. He has 6,000 square foot in a 20,000 square foot building that's available. And I'm looking at probably taking 3,500 square foot of that. And then we'll take another 12 to 1,600 square foot and turn that into code red Toyota fabrication only. And so any of the prototype parts that I build for Toyota, any of the concept cars I build for Toyota, which I already have something I have to do once this leaves, it's another vehicle that can stay in that space, and that's my workspace, but it's mutual access. So any of the executives that come in can come and go into that space with our guidance, obviously. I'll be able to access it from my space. They'll be able to access it from theirs. It'll really only be my workspace, but it basically is like another 12 to 1,400 square feet that I don't pay for. That's part of the facility being jointly used for that. But I've got I have a custom welding truck that I've got to build for a customer. And it's his grandfather's like 1970s 74 Ford. We're going to do a Coyote motor in it with a supercharger and big lift kit with active suspension, and freaking like build out a full custom handmade welding bed with like a big green egg in it and a big shade cover and make it like just like a big tailgating welding truck.
Yeah.
I have that to do, and then I've got to do a chassis on we're doing a Pepsi vehicle this year too. And so with Sean over at Complete, he has a panel truck, like a 53-ish, like mid-50s, early 50s panel truck. And then I'm doing a full TCI chassis in that, and we're doing Whipple Charge LS3 in it.
I don't know how the fuck you get all that shit done, or even think about it.
It's just work, man. You just do it all. But we had a meeting on that on Friday, so I've got a plan for, in the facility that I'm in right now, I have to do the full body mounted on the TCI chassis, motor installed, steering column, brakes, fuel cell, everything. We're going to do some paint test panels because we're going to make it look like a vintage patinaed, weathered, found in the Arizona desert Pepsi truck.
That'd be cool.
And then on the inside, everything is going to be perfect, brand new, spit shine, fucking clean, painted, perfect, awesome shit.
Yeah. So
the outside will be patinaed as fuck, and you open the engine compartment, the hood, and everything's painted and polished and chromed or Cerakoted or whatever, and it's just super brand new looking, and the chassis is freaking full air ride. You know, we're doing 18s and 20s on it, Detroit steel wheels, all that kind of stuff. So I have that going on, and then my goal. Oh, and I've got freaking so the golf carts I did for SEMA last year.
I didn't know about those.
So I built these golf carts. I have a product that I developed for the golf cart industry for the club carts for a guy. He said, I want to build some lift kits for golf carts. I'm like, cool, let's talk about it. And I was like, well, I mean, what do you want to do? He's like, why don't we put like 33s on them or some shit? I was like, cool. So I built it for like, it'll handle 35s.
Yeah.
So these golf carts are like 9'6" with 35s on them, full air ride, full trailing arm, suspension in the back, but I based all the front suspension off of a Polaris RZR XP 1000. Mm-hmm. So I already applied for the patents on it, and through him jointly. Mm-hmm. It is a bolt-on front cradle suspension that allows you to put Polaris RZR XP 1000 parts on the front of your golf cart. Okay. And then I'm working with a company right now where I engineered a little wider axle with a different gearing in it, because these are electric carts, mm-hmm. so that the track width is correct. And so I manufacture the rear suspension mounts. There's a subcomponent that allows you to mount the auxiliary batteries, air tank, air management, all that stuff that goes underneath. And then a cradle up front, and then you buy all the Polaris parts. And like literally you go, I need an 8-inch lift for a Polaris RZR XP 1000. You go to Fox and you buy all 4 of the shocks and you bolt it on this thing that I make for this fucking golf cart.
That's cool.
So I remember that badass fab table that I had before at Misfit. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm getting ready to buy another one, but not that style, just a little different. Mm-hmm. It'll be the same type of tooling and stuff, but it'll be a couple of rail sections so I can build whole cars or motorcycles or whatever the hell else I want on them. Cool. But the product investment for just putting one finished article out with a full list of parts plus an instruction manual and one first article, it's like $35,000 to $40,000. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to end up spending like $15,000 of that on a table, aligned tooling alone, just because I mean, you've seen me use it before. I mean, it's way handy. Like the Hayabusa would have never happened had I not had that table.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't going to do it without that table, because Dana's bike is freaking crazy. Yeah. I mean, literally, dude's like, okay, I want a 640 horsepower turbo Hayabusa, 32-inch wheel, bagger. I'm like, cool. The only way I'm doing that is if I got a table that'll withstand the tolerances that require that you have, so that when you're doing 200 miles an hour, you don't die.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in. Just give me a table.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot on the plate, but I mean, there's that, and then just really focusing on trying to end this year by starting to create parts for myself, mm-hmm. because I've been a part of so many other businesses in different industries and done so much to grow other people's businesses that I've done real little growing myself. And
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Lot, you know,
it's real important that I focus on parts, and make that something that happens for me this year. I have a very keystone part that I'm really pushing to get done before Sturgis, mm-hmm. that I think is something that I'll sell 3,000 to 4,000 of a year minimum. Mm-hmm. Minimum. And the reality is there's a part that we've been dealing with for over 20 years, mm-hmm. that is quote unquote similar to this part, that is not the same. It's night and day. But when you look at it, you go, oh, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait, it's not. And you go, fuck, why hasn't anybody done that before? Like I had one of those epiphany moments, holding a part in my hand and looked at it. And I said, man, this has to be done better. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, when I told myself, I was like, dude, you just reinvented the X. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know how asinine it is to actually say that out loud? Like to say that I just did that and know that it's true. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited about it. Like when it comes out, people are going to take the shitty one that they've had in the market for 20 years. They will throw them the fuck away and they'll buy mine, because it's that valuable to the world, yeah. as far as how that product functions. Because I saw a necessity based on somebody who had a disability. They couldn't have that part on their motorcycle because they don't have enough body left to mm-hmm. operate it efficiently. And I felt bad because I couldn't stylize their bike a certain way. And I said, holy shit, if it just did this, he could have one too. And I said, fuck. And I redrew the part in my head like 10,000 times in 5 minutes. And it came out to this amazing idea. And I've spent like the better part of a year redesigning it. And I got all the engineering done on it now, filing patents on it, hopefully within the next month. and then go into machining. First articles I should see in 45 days, and hopefully have like hard parts in my hand before Sturgis, which is probably still like 75 days away or some shit. I don't know.
Well, shit, man. On that note, you gotta wrap it up.
Yeah. What is it, like 3 hours?
3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I gotta stop him before 4 now.
Yeah. What happens at 4 hours?
At 4 hours, it costs a shit ton of money for me to upload them. Like, I say a shit ton. It's very complicated and everything to get it out there. It's just a pain in the ass. But yeah, once you add the intro and outro and all this stuff, it's like another 15 minutes.
15 minutes at least.
Yeah. So we'll tell everybody how to follow you and stuff.
You can find me on Instagram at MoosCraft, MoosCraft, or MoosMits is my personal page. That's MoosMits. Chris Moos on Facebook, and then I have a website that's doing absolutely nothing right now, but you might be able to find some shit on it one day. That'll be MoosCraft.com. And
you're up there in North Dallas.
I'm in Denton, Texas.
There you go.
So yes, born and raised in Texas, and been within like certain region of my existence the whole life, just same area, but no.
All right, man. Good times. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Had a good time talking to Moos. Had some great stories. He's always full of great stories. You ever see him out on the set in the rallies and the events all over the place? He's a really nice guy. So reach out to him. Big tall motherfucker too. So don't worry about I guess do worry about it. I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Please take a chance to check out our sponsors, Dream Rides, John Jessup up there in the Bay Area. TeamDreamRides.com. Use Fast Life at checkout. Also, don't forget about BigBearPerformance.com if you want to look at some of the suspension and other products. They sell a lot of badass stuff, so not just suspension, so many things. So check them out. Also, you can always phone in some and get some insights and place orders at 909-478-7788. Also, don't forget to hit up Mark, Texas Performance MC, if you're here in the Texas area and you need a quality mechanic to take care of your bike needs and your performance upgrades and shit like that. So Texas Performance MC on Instagram and .com if you want to use the web. Also, Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram, as well as painthuffer.com if you want to get some flakes. And you can check out us, the Fast Life Garage and the Fast Life Podcast on Instagram. Our website, fastlifegarage.com. And, I'm going to say it. You guys can check out the Patreon front page. There's a button that says Become a Patron. And, $1 keeps us hollering. So help us out. I appreciate it. Share these podcasts if you enjoy them. Tell your homies about it. Tell your mom about it. And hopefully we'll see you guys on the road and be back at you again next week with another podcast. So holler.